Hello, Smite Draft League. How are you doing? My name is AnthonyMalum. I'm joined by Suun. We've got Godlike, Kingslayers versus Dark Omen today. We've got Nooblet on production. Suun, I know this is a set you have been looking forward to, especially since our mini roster apocalypse we had, considering some of the players on this team. So walk me through what you expect to see today.
Well, I mean, Kingslayers now have a full roster for the first time since the season
Yeah,
started. So that's,
claps all around,
yeah,
honestly.
congratulations, finally. We love to see it. So always good to see them. And again, I had predictions at the start of the season that this team was going to look incredibly hot. So I'm very excited to see this team now that they finally have a full roster. And not to mention that Dark Omen has looked like a bit of a kind of like a wild card. It seems like some weeks they are incredibly hot and on fire, and other weeks they're just not hitting the mark as much. So this team is a very versatile and very back and forth comp. So it'll be very interesting to see how these two teams will match up now that we get to experience this full roster of Kingslayers.
100%. I am on the same page as you because Dark Omen, who was an overwhelming favorite for most of the casters, myself included, is a team that I was not expecting to have such a turbulent season. I think a lot of it has been due to the availability of their traditional mid laner and Power, who has been a SDL and outside of SDL powerhouse, and that is the mid laner here with a name change. So important to note there because that's somebody who's nasty. And I think another big part of it is for sure Snoozism, who has had a uncharacteristically quiet season, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like Snoozism has just kind of been a bit of a sleeper here this season. He hasn't gotten the keywords yet in order to become that sleeper agent that we know and love of Snoozism. And I feel like again, it's part of the team dynamic is again, this team has just felt so incredibly hit or miss, and Snoozism is such an important part of this team. And so to not have that consistent solo lane pressure coming out game after game after game is something that I'm really hoping to see here in this set between these two teams. And we can see now that Kingslayer's full roster there on your right hand side of the screen. We can see that Jayswervy is over there in the solo lane as their last pickup for their team and for to make their full roster. And so I'm going to be incredibly excited to see Jayswervy because Jayswervy is more of a jungle player, and but they needed a solo laner, and he took up the mantle himself. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what the god pool will look like over there in the solo lane. I'll be very interested to see if maybe we'll just see some standard solo lane picks coming out. We already see the Wukong band out, so it won't necessarily be that, or the Thor. We could have seen like a hybrid pick like that as well. Uh, or I'm just curious if we're going to see those standard picks or maybe just some assassins over there in the solo lane, something that we know Jayswervy will be comfortable with.
And it's not easy to be a off-rolling solo laner from jungle, which are usually two roles that I would say don't go together. A lot of times you see jungles kind of also play around with that mid role, and then solo is usually not at the top for people who don't play it. And going against Snoozism, who is the polar opposite when I think of people who prefer the solo lane, that's going to be a tough time. And another lane that I'd like you to take us through as the Ares band comes out, keeping that away from Kaizo, is the ADC role, because we talked about the turbulence of these teams. And both Tomcat and MattGuy are two players that I think of when I think of players who can play way above pay grade, essentially, or two players who can kind of have a bit more lackadaisical of a game, kind of have a
Feel my
calm slash
blessing.
line. I'm talking about those 2, 4, and 6 type of slash lines. So I'm interested to see if which it'll be today.
Yeah, the battle of the Matthiases, as both of them are named Matt. So it'll be interesting to see over there in that in that long lane, just who gets the upper hand between these two teams. And both, again, as you said, are very strong ADCs in their own right. So it'll be something excited to see. And one thing I'm looking at right now is I already see that an Ares gets banned away from Kaizo, and we've seen a lot of teams looking to ban out the Athena from Kaizo. And so that's still on the table right now. One of his signature gods there in the support role. So I'll be interested to see if we maybe see that get locked in here, especially when the Terra has already been locked in for Henergy over there in the support role for Dark Omen. We haven't even really talked about picks and bans here yet. And so
Yeah, it's so
as
much
far as
so much
bans
to cover.
goes, yeah, so much to cover between these two teams. But as far as bans goes, it's pretty straightforward
Wisdom
across the
shall be
board.
my
And there's
shield.
that Athena that we get to see for Kaizo.
Not surprising that gets picked up. I mean, like you said, it wasn't banned. It's certainly not bad. We are seeing Ares get a lot of deserved focus, but really only in the upper echelons of play. Kind of a forgotten pick in the lower ranks of play, which you see so much more commonly in amateur leagues, let alone draft leagues. It's kind of
I
easy to
will
forget
win
how
peace by
potent
force.
Ares can be right now. With the Ratatasker being picked up first, as we see the Hachiman get locked in for Tomcat, do you think we're looking at a solo Ratatasker or a jungle Ratatasker?
Yeah, I mean, again, two junglers on this team, so it's very difficult to say. So I'm not
You
willing to
shall
lean on it
not
until I see
pass!
another
To my
potential
bottom, that
assassin
is.
lock in or a warrior lock in before I can really decipher exactly where this one is going to be going. But kind of going back to that Ares talk as well. I mean, with the buffs to Ares as well, getting that extra cooldown on his shackles is 2 seconds reduced cooldown brings a lot more value to this character because you will be crippling a lot more often, and it can be incredibly scary. And not to mention, Ares is just an insanely good
Warriors,
beads
to
burner. So when you
battle!
pair that with that, if you ever have to beads a shackle, you're just going to be getting hit with his ultimate immediately afterwards. So it's got to be something you got to be careful of. And speaking of being careful of, we see MattGuy on the Anher, and he has looked phenomenal on this pick in the games that Kingslayers have been playing recently.
I do like that pickup. I love how On Her feels playing into Hachiman, one of the few characters that feels like he can comfortably deal with Hachiman. Even post nerf Hachiman is still just a character that gives a hard time. And I also want to talk about the Giannis lock-in. I know a character you are not a fan of, but being picked up by Puro, again, that is Power ST2, that is a dominant pick for Power, and that is a character who the big thing when Puro plays this Giannis for me has always been the use of through space and time is always so calculated, which is easy to kind of forget what that ultimate actually is able to do, and it turns into a kill ult, a last second. Oh, let's clean up the fight when it can be so much more. And Power is somebody who's always done the more.
Yeah, the utility that that ultimate can bring for the team is something that some people sleep on. When you really think high damaging ultimate from the mage, you need to make sure you're using that for the damage. But the utility aspect of it is something that a lot of top Janices will utilize more than just the damage itself. And now that we've got a Susano locked in for Kingslayers, I think that's fair to say that we'll
Now
be
is
seeing
the
Jayswervy on
time.
the Ratatasker in the solo, and we'll be seeing that Thistle Thorn acorn, or not Thistlethorn, excuse me, Thickbark acorn, the silver acorn for that Ratatasker. More than likely, I would assume, because it's just the best acorn in the solo lane for
My
Ratatasker. But who knows?
steed
Could
and
be
I
full
are
damage
ready for yet
Ratatasker
another
coming out
adventure.
as well. And we get to see the drafts get rounded out with a Lancelot jungle for Swagga over here on Dark Omen. Not a pickup that we've seen a ton of recently, but also has received some buffs recently as well.
I want to go back to the Nike Ratatasker really
Whoa!
quickly because that's not a matchup you see a lot. You have much more experience in the solo lane. How does that matchup play out for Ratatasker? Because surface level, I feel like that wouldn't be a great feeling matchup just inherently with the fact Ratatasker wants to get as in your face as possible, and Nike's entire thing is don't get close to me.
Yeah, it's definitely one of Ratatasker's harder matchups if you play him solo. I have played a lot of Ratatasker solo. I love Ratatasker solo. And so it is definitely one of the harder matchups for that god, because again, Nike just has such a great way of being able to output so much damage, and if you're not using that acorn blast to stun out Nike's rend, then you are going to be in a world of hurt taking a lot of damage. And Nike on the flip side has an extra HP bar to play with. Ratatasker does not, and not to mention through the Cosmos has some channel time to it. So you've got to be really careful and utilize that ultimate if you're ever going to use it defensively. You need to make sure that you are charging it preemptively and quick enough, early enough to not die before you get that ultimate off and use it to escape. So it's going to be a difficult matchup over there in the solo lane for Jayswervy, and I'm excited to see it as well. And we get to see a Hubwa round out the drafts over here for Kingslayers. So Kingslayers seems like they really want to fight. And on the flip side, there's some really great counter initiation coming out for Dark Omen. So this would be an incredibly exciting game.
It will be. It will be. It's going to be an absolute battle, and it's time to see how that battle plays out. We'll meet you in game number 1 in just a sec. Welcome into game. Once again, my name's AnthonyMalum. I'm joined by Suun. We've got godlike action on tap for you between Dark Omen and Kingslayers, two highly stacked, highly competitive teams. Whenever we spend so much time diving through picks like we did, Suun, I like to keep it simple at the start. Relics aren't crazy. Starter items don't seem out of this world crazy. So let's talk laning phase. What are you looking for? Where will the action take place?
You know, with both of these junglers, Lancelot being able to rotate around the map very effectively. You have the Susanoo, who has very good early game as well on top of that. I think these junglers are going to be the ones that are going to be setting the pace early, and I think that pace, just off the picks alone, I feel like we're leaning more towards duo side because you've got an Anher who loves to play aggressively, and you have a taunt coming out, the Confound on Kaizo over there, one of his signature picks in the Athena. And so that's something you've also got to be wary about. He's going to be using that taunt very aggressively in the early game, and they are going to be trying to set the pace over there as much as possible. And if CritOfTime ever wants to rotate over there, it could spell disastrous for the duo side for Dark Omen. And so I feel like Swagga needs to do a good job of rotating around in order to help facilitate that pressure. And you can see a little bit of that pressure coming out here in the mid lane as we see a little bit of damage being traded out, but no kills to be had yet. But I expect these junglers to start rotating over towards that duo lane. And Jayswervy's already starting to feel a little bit of the heat over here in the solo lane.
Pressured out on that Rad Tasker, you did mention to look for that. And both junglers having gone Blink, but Blink being down for Swagga and up for CritOfTime could lend itself to what you talked about with those early rotations. Swagga already leaning over duo, and with how pushed up Kingslayers are, we'll see if it turns into a gank as opposed to shield buff. Looks like it will. A jump in from MattGuy. So Swagga does have a great position for it. Early shell from Kaizo. Taunt brings two back. So MattGuy going to be okay for now. CritOfTime going to be in the background of this fight. CritOfTime gets in, uses that blink, but got stunned instantly. And Kaizo is going to get the first blood on TheTomcatt. Henergy could be soon to follow with one auto from MattGuy. That will be the case. 2 kills go the way of Kingslayers on what was an unfortunate gank for Swagga.
Again, that pressure that I was talking about over there in the dual lane, we already got to see it. Swagga with the really early rotation, CritOfTime with a great counter engagement, and Kaizo buying so much time for MattGuy in order to live and not fall right there. You saw at the very start of that team fight, MattGuy leaped in, not realizing that Swagga was on the rotation and right there ready to initiate and hopefully get a good gank off. Unfortunately, does not go the way of Dark Omen. But fortunately for the way of Kingslayers, Kaizo able to peel out his ADC who was out without a lead for a solid around 10 seconds right there at the start of that team fight, and allowed him to live and also pick up a kill as well. 2 kills at that is something that we love to see if you're a Kingslayers fan.
Yeah, that's massive. And it can't be understated how much any kind of lead will make an on-her be even more so of an on-her. It's so impossible to lane against an on-her that gets any kind of lead against you, because as soon as they get any kind of itemization online, they're already doing so much with the inherent passives of the kit, it's a lot to deal with. A slam down from Jayswervy looking at Snoozism, who had Sentinel of Zeus ready, and now Jayswervy actually could be the one in trouble, but with Swagga being pre-ultimate, we'll see how much they can get off of it. Blink forward, damage good, Jayswervy gonna pay for the aggression and get dropped. Credit goes to Snoozism.
Yeah, through space and time also utilized maybe to try and snipe him out if he was able to escape from that one, but using that through the Cosmos aggressively without realizing that Swagga was just on the back camps right there, ready to come in on top of him. A nice little invade attempt for Jayswervy, but unfortunately not going the way of the Ratatasker.
CritOfTime over in this duo lane again. Henergy in a lot of trouble. Typhoon's gonna get the knockoff, and Desert Fury will help clean it up. CritOfTime won't get the credit again. A very nice knock up there to delay Henergy's attempt at an escape, and TheTomcatt wisely had no interest. Taunt in, but MattGuy just gonna focus on wave. Kaizo keeping TheTomcatt from wave, and a really, really good emphasis on that pressure you were talking about, Suun.
Yeah, it's again, as you were just saying though too, it's incredibly difficult to fight into an Anher with a lead, and we already see a 2-level lead coming out from MattGuy thanks to the rotations coming out from CritOfTime to help set up for some kills. And might potentially be some more kills, except this time on Kaizo.
No ultimate available for the Athena. Defender of Olympus not going to be a factor here, but the dash will be good. Swagga and Henergy are taking the slow grind. Mounted Archery used to. Two-man taunt, and now you're overplaying your hand. Swagga tanking a lot of the tower. Shell forced out, and MattGuy has arrived, so Kaizo will get to live another day. Sasano ganking in solo lane to try to get one back for Kingslayers. Snoozism will try to deal with it, and able to do it thanks to the pushback of Nike's kid. Now Jayswervy is actually the one in trouble, and Snoozism going to go aggressive for it. Does have that Sentinel of Zeus online. CritOfTime and Jayswervy both step back in. There's that Sentinel of Zeus, and Jayswervy still in trouble, and the Rend will get rid of the Ratatasker. Wow.
Snoozism is starting to show just how potent this Knight pick can be into the Ratatasker solo, and how difficult it can be, as Tomcatt is just out of range of Desert's Fury, barely managing to escape MattGuy's pressure on this Anher. And look at his positioning right now. MattGuy is not scared at all with where he is positioned right now in this game. He was standing at the tier 1 tower, killing a Bastion, with 2 people looking at him without any vision in the jungle and not knowing where Swagga is on the map. He could have been in so much danger, but he didn't care. He is definitely feeling himself right now. And an Anher that is feeling themselves is even scarier than an Anher that's ahead.
That is very true. Taunt in from Kaizo on Puro, but beads in Portal enough to get away. Currently 6 minutes in, 2-3. You saw not any significant golden experience leads aside from that ADC role, which is the big one to keep your eyes on. And solo lane will be something to also watch. We've mentioned it a few times with Jayswervy off-rolling in that solo lane. I like to really put a lot of notice on solo laners potentially rotating out early when they get an advantage. CritOfTime with the purple buff invade will get it and will get away cleanly. Tomcatt not going to stick around too long, and now a deep ward in his purple buff as well.
Yeah, if the ADC is that far behind already, Tomcatt already 2 levels down, just using that ultimate Typhoon to just deny that the potential to get their own purple buff and get a little bit of that farm back to hopefully catch up is just continuing to put Tomcatt slightly farther behind, because now we see a 3-level lead coming out from MattGuy over here. Now it's ticked over to a 2, but still, I mean, 7.5 minutes into this game is a scary sight to see for this Anher. And one thing we haven't really talked about too much is this mid lane so far. EmoticonFather with the Charon's coin and hasn't gotten any stacks yet, hasn't been looking to rotate around. I was kind of expecting this Anher to be rotating around a little bit more.
Tomcatt able to get away with mounted archery, if not barely. Now Swagga goes aggressive on MattGuy, but the jump is perfectly timed. Tomcatt comes back in, but the auto turnaround from MattGuy is perfect. Now he jukes out power, gets the impale too. Swagga will finally clean him up, but you cannot deny the jukes from MattGuy. Now EmoticonFather rotates over, bringing CritOfTime along for the ride. Blink forward from CritOfTime. There's the taunt. There's the Typhoon. Away goes Puro. Emoticon gets the credit. Kingslayers just disgusting. Now Jayswervy gonna be caught out under the tower there. His own tower isn't safe enough to protect from Snoozism, so kills across the map. But man, MattGuy, disgusting there.
This team fight might not be done yet. Swagga's still here and is looking at Kaizo right now and is trying to put a bit of pressure on him, but with EmoticonFather full HP and full mana right now, this is not necessarily a fight you want to take, especially with MattGuy in tow.
Not whatsoever, and it looks like Dark Omen are on the same page as you. They are finally going to leave that one be. So talk to me about that fight in duo, especially the jukes of MattGuy. I understand he didn't survive, but being able to get the turnaround auto kill on that Hachiman in the face of all that damage and then almost survive the fight itself. It's disgusting.
MattGuy, for one thing, got the juke shoes. Whatever brand he's got, I'm buying. Okay, so he's got to hook me up.
Surely it's Heelys.
Yeah, it's got to be. You're right. He was just slipping and sliding left and right, and we see another solo kill coming out from Snoozism. Must have been a tower dive coming out from Jayswervy. 4-0 for this Nike. That is a scary sight to see. 2-level lead over there in the solo lane. But going back to this dual lane a little bit, Kaizo's buying so much space and so much time for MattGuy and is doing a fantastic job allowing MattGuy to survive that long in that engagement and be able to not play scared ever. But now let's flip to the opposite side of the map and look over here in the solo lane. Jayswervy, again, not a solo lane player, but is the solo laner for this team and is not necessarily looking the best as of right now. So we got to see some EmoticonFather, maybe CritOfTime rotations over to try and stomp out this lead that this Nike has in Snoozism over there in the solo lane, because if this Nike continues at this pace, it's going to be an incredibly scary thing when these solo laners start rotating out.
MattGuy walks up to the 1v3, but is this the first overzealous? No, it's not, thanks to Defender of Olympus. Now the two-man taunt in could actually turn things around for the Kingslayers. A nice stun on TheTomcatt. Henergy gonna get picked up by CritOfTime. MattGuy does need to retreat. Big damage came out from Puro. Swagga goes deep as well, and they're to clean up CritOfTime. Jump from MattGuy, but Puro was ready for it. Swagga also dashes through with the ultimate. Kaizo gonna be able to survive. It was close there for a moment, but Puro with the ultimate through space and time, not able to find it. Now with the portal, goes aggressive. An unstable vortex will be what cleans house, but EmoticonFather with the blink, knock up, and a cannon sends you back. Puro will find a way home one way or another. So a crazy back and forth there, and you were talking about solo. I look at my notebook, there's kills. I look up from notebook again, they're in duo. I look down at notebook again, solo's low again. There's just no breathing room this game.
This is, both teams are playing both sides of the map very effectively, and then these mid laners are, you know, they're around. We see a lot of through spaces and times, rotating around, trying to make some plays, and then we see EmoticonFather on a few rotations, a little bit after the fact, a little bit late on some of these rotations, but still impactful, as we just saw a kill to be had over there on the Janus at the tail end of that fight. But Dark Omen with some really good signs of life over there in the duo lane. It seems like they've been losing this duo lane matchup quite often, but they came up on the upper hand in that last engagement, coming up with 3 kills over there for the duo lane side. And now with this first beacon spawn, there's not a whole lot of members of Dark Omen over here. They might just be giving this one up.
I think you're right, because Henergy's the only person there. Swagga and Puro will both get there too late, and yes, that will be the case. As soon as Henergy steps out, there it is. Kingslayers get themselves a Stygian beacon, and with the leads they have, the gold obviously even 8-7 currently at 12 minutes, but the leads they have in experience that cannot be understated, and the damage leads they have off of the kills leading to items. Yeah, they gotta start taking advantage of getting more objectives, son, as the 1v1 is breaking out between MattGuy and TheTomcatt. And TheTomcatt not afraid to step up to MattGuy with the help of Eagles. Gonna do some good damage. Jump in from MattGuy. Shards get popped from TheTomcatt. Mounted archery just to get away from the Desert Fury. That was a trump card, plus the rotations. So MattGuy not gonna get the better of TheTomcatt in this scenario.
Yeah, both of them just kind of checking each other out a little bit. You know, they're both level 12 currently, so they're definitely seeing exactly where their builds stand, both going different build paths, but Swagga over here going aggressive in the jungle.
Through space and time will go through the back of the Kingslayers, but not find a home for damage. CritOfTime does back away to play it safe. No interest in continuing, but EmoticonFather has other plans. Kaizo dashes forward, looking to set up for the Hebo, and it will be a perfect one at that. Taunt into the crushing wave. Kaizo gets the credit. Henergy soon to follow, and that time EmoticonFather was able to be the one to get it. Another kill for Snoozism in the solo lane. Rough times continue for Jayswervy. Yeah, a rotation even came out, just it wasn't the one you wanted to see if you're Jayswervy, because it was from Puro. So just no break for Jayswervy in sight. The Kingslayers are looking at Gold Fury. Already down to half health. Swagga is the closest, but not going to find it in time. So what we're seeing so far, son, is solo lane be dominated by Dark Omen. ADC be dominated, but not as much as it should be in terms of experience and gold for duo side for the Kingslayers, and an objective presence that seems better from the Kingslayers, which feels like it shouldn't be the case given what Snoozism's doing in solo.
It's a very interesting dynamic between these two teams. It feels so like even though it also doesn't at the same time. We can see a little bit of a gold lead coming out from Dark Omen right now, but not much. Only 500 gold right now, and a Pyromancer might add to that to make it closer to that 1,000. But again, as you were just saying, the duo side from Kingslayers is looking incredibly strong, but the solo side of Dark Omen is looking even stronger. 4-level lead right now. So and already a tier 1 tower has fallen. Meanwhile, the Bastions haven't even been looked at on the tier 1 tower in solo lane for Dark Omen. So it's so back and forth between these two teams that this is an exciting game to watch if you're a fan of Smite.
So when they meet, when we get to that point of no more laning phase, inherently early, it should be solo with the advantage in this scenario. That guy trying to add more, but doesn't quite find perfect home. So when do you want to see Snoozism start rotating more to get more involved? Should found my answer. Snoozism in duo lane, TP'd to a ward and got behind MattGuy. Could be big trouble, but Kingslayers able to back away in time. So more oddities continue. I mean, I was supposed to ask you, when should Snoozism rotate? I look up at the map from my notebook again, which I'm going to throw this damn thing away, and Snoozism rotates behind. Maybe they'll make something happen in the mid lane. CritOfTime in trouble, down below half health. Puro could not quite find the unstable vortex. Snoozism jumped in, has to turn around to help out their mid laner. Will work out. EmoticonFather could get a good gank off here on Puro, but can't get a perfect entrance. In dual lane, MattGuy taking the 1v2 against Swagga and TheTomcatt. Needs to jump away. CritOfTime on the way. So split fight here, mid to duo. Mid lane and duo both not succeeding. Now Kingslayers get aggressive in duo. MattGuy got to find TheTomcatt with the help of the Typhoon. In mid lane, going to be attempted saving things, but it's going to turn to a double kill in duo. And in mid, Kingslayers are getting the worst of it. So success in duo, failure in mid. What a mess.
I really like that coming out from, but actually it might not be done. Kaizo's stopping the recall on Snoozism and Henergy. And his jungler is in tow, and he goes ahead and hits that confound on 2, but CritOfTime is not rotating to this. Kaizo's just trying to delay their backs as much as possible, because on the solo side, which we weren't even talking about in that engagement, you just see Jayswervy just got a tier 1 tower over there, so a little bit of extra gold in their pocket. And maybe Snoozism could have TP'd over there to try and prevent that. So I like this play coming out, but you got to get away with your life here, Kaizo. And he should do just that. But going back to this team fight, you saw they scratched the entire team fight in mid, Kingslayers did, and they went full rotation over to duo side to help MattGuy. And in the process, kill Swagga and TheTomcatt, but also in the process, lose their tier 1 tower in mid and their mid laner. But so relatively a bit of a wash in a sense, because you can be getting, you got that gold back by getting the solo lane tower as well, thanks to Jayswervy with the split push. So it's so hard to say who won the upper hand in that fight, because it's both teams once again came up big in that engagement.
That's kind of the story of this entire game. We're coming up on 18 minutes. Like you said, I mean, the gold lead shockingly close. Just about 700, barely underneath that. 10 to 11 at 18 minutes. And like you said, it's a wash. Every time one team gets an advantage, you can look somewhere else and see that the other team has picked up a leg on the other side of the map. The only sort of even thing has been mid lane, the 2-level lead, but we've seen nice kills, good rotations from both. Jungle, similar story, but Swagga very deep. CritOfTime and Kaizo both there trying to make Swagga pay for it, but thankfully Joust was available, so Swagga will get away. TomCat may be forced to use mounted archery, but just going to be Kaizo committing for the time being. EmoticonFather going to use Scroll as well, but look who's rotated over to the mid lane. It's Jayswervy looking to help out EmoticonFather, but just that push is too annoying for the Acorns to find a stun. Snoozism in the face of 2 is killing EmoticonFather. MattGuy in trouble and left 3 on top, able to find 1. 4 gone. TomCat gonna find MattGuy on the back end. Jayswervy gets over with through the Cosmos, finds 1. CritOfTime gets the other. So now Henergy alone trying to get 2. Snoozism for help. The Kingslayers have made it work so far, if not surprisingly so, and they're going to be able to find Henergy with the taunt from Kaizo. They just got to get the clean damage. There it is. CritOfTime will find it. Snoozism, last one alive. The fact that turns into a 4 down, I mean, 4 dove on MattGuy. He was able to kill 1, make it that 3, and Kingslayers turned it from there. Jayswervy, 1 in 5, but it cannot be denied that this Oni Fury, this lead that's emerging, is because of one play of Jayswervy grinding out the mid lane, or excuse me, the solo lane, and then rotating to mid, and all of a sudden being a factor.
Yeah, it definitely has caught up. We saw a 4-level deficit at one point between these solo laners, and now there's only a 1-level deficit thanks to electing not to rotate in the previous engagement, and now Jayswervy is able to rotate around and help out the team. We saw a big rotation of Dark Omen towards that purple buff over there on the Kingslayer side of the map, but they wasted too many ultimates too early just on MattGuy, and because of that, once the Kingslayers were able to rotate through, we saw 4 members fall for Dark Omen, losing a Gold Fury, losing the Pyromancer, and now Kingslayers... Granted, it's not much of a lead, but a 1k gold lead, I think this is the most we've seen so far between either of these teams. I think at one point Dark Omen had a 1k lead, and now Kingslayers have a 1k lead. I don't even know what's going on. This game is so crazy back and forth between these two
it's so
teams.
hard to call.
Yeah, and we see now a 4-level lead apparently out of support for Kaizo. I'm not sure where that developed out of. And just so much is going on this game between these two teams.
It's really crazy. I haven't seen one like this in a long time because, yeah, like you said, one of the closer games we've seen, but it doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel like we're calling one of those same kind of barn burners because the way everything's been fighting, it inherently feels like there's leads. It's weird. Certainly weird. MattGuy with the gank on Tomcatt. Early Aegis could spell trouble with Desert Fury helping out. Mounted Archery already used, and look to the sky on the landing. Going to be Jayswervy. MattGuy has to just jump forward, excuse me. But Jayswervy will clean up Tomcatt, and Swagga will just look to get away. Swagga not able to help out Tomcatt surely as much as they would have wished so far into this game.
Really quick on the draw teleport coming out from Jayswervy to teleport to that tier 2 tower to help out his ADC. A really great utilization of that. And again, you have to use that incredibly early to get there at the same time as Kaizo on the Defender of Olympus. So very quick on realization of just how much danger MattGuy was in that position and able to come and help MattGuy survive for the cost of both relics, but you do get a kill and both relics on Tomcatt. So definitely worth in their favor as well. And we also got to see the Blink expelled for this Lancelot. And that's something also that they're going to have to deal with a little bit here in this engagement.
The first organized fight we've seen in Snoozism is already poked out pretty significantly in this respect. It does have that TP up, however, so with next beacon around the corner, it's going to seemingly go to Kingslayers. We'll see if Dark Omen tries to get a late contest off, but it does not appear that way. It's going to be close. The beacon will go to Kingslayers, despite Dark Omen being postured and seemingly interested. Jayswervy around the side, dealing with the Giannis. Going to dash forward, but has to avoid the portal. Will not steal the green buff. Goes aggressive, forced to use through the Cosmos. And now with how low Jayswervy is, and Kaizo having ulted, Kingslayer is going to try to make improvise. I can speak today. We'll see if this fight cleans up my speaking, as Puro, very low, has to use through space and time to get away. Will be able to. MattGuy going to get jumped on by Snoozism. Will not be able to pull the same tricks we've seen so far and survive. Snoozism going to clean that one up. The rest of Kingslayers just look to disengage and retreat, and Dark Omen have one of their cleaner fight wins we've seen.
Kingslayers get the tier 1 tower, get the beacon, but again, it feels like now Dark Omen has the upper hand because of this.
Tomcatt and Henergy both grouped up, keeping Kingslayers back, and with the Titans marching down the mid lane, a good time to do it. This could set up nicely for the fight in mid, should there be one. But the Kingslayers are actually chasing out Dark Omen. They're going to focus on Tomcatt. Swagga comes around the side to try to calm things down. CritOfTime going to find the killing spree off of Tomcatt. Snoozism will go into the backline, try to disrupt things, but the backline this time happened to be Kaizo and CritOfTime. Through space and time, will fly through, but not find a home, not find damage. So the Kingslayers will take advantage of that to step away calmly. Snoozism goes aggressive on EmoticonFather. lands down from Jayswervy, gets stunned out, but Crushing Wave will help find 1 kill, but Snooze able to return it and find CritOfTime. Henergy gonna get dropped by Kaizo. Joust used from Swagga on EmoticonFather, who is low. Jump in from Snoozism, double kill for the Nike. Now Swagga takes a 1v3 in the mid lane, but Snooze could not help out there, and MattGuy gonna find one and clean it up easy. Chaos Titan with the advantage will clean up the Order Titan, and Snoozism can just retreat. So Pyromancer will go the way of Kingslayers after a long, long fight.
Dark Omen posturing up incredibly far in front of the Fire Giant, get pushed back behind their Fire Giant, have a great rotation coming in on the Kingslayers to just look to knock them down a little bit thanks to how far they were positioned in the jungle of Dark Omen. But at the end of the day, once they push back, it's now Kingslayers again who are pushing back in the team fight, and win the team fight by getting a lot of kills, getting the Titan killed, and pushing up towards that tier 2 tower. And now with another Gold Fury in their pockets as well, I can't help but feel like Kingslayers got out once again with an upper hand. But again, Dark Omen are showing so many great signs of life and are really showing that they can easily take this game, and they're not out of it, and they're not going to just give it up at any point. And it just so back and forth between these two teams. But finally, a 5k lead has developed for Kingslayers, and now I can confidently say this is the first lead that we have seen either of these teams have here 26 minutes into this game.
And at that 26 minutes, it's 14-20, so plenty of blood to be spread around. You only hit level 20 once, and most everyone has gotten there. The supports are the last ones behind, which is commonplace at that. So we're at even footing now, which is where these fights need to be made up. TheTomcatt getting a split push off should be able to get this tier 2 as nobody's answered it, so maybe this will be a go button for the Kingslayers. Looks like it might be. They're going to slightly look at fire. They've got the pick cleared out, but now they're actually going to step up. Consider the fight. Taunt on Giannis. That's problematic. Crushing Wave doesn't find a home through the Cosmos. Going to chase out Puro, who could not get through space and time, off just in the nick of time. Jayswervy cleaned it up. Now a jump in from Snoozism, finding a divine streak thanks to the help of Sentinel of Zeus. And Dark Omen have new life into this fight despite losing their Giannis. Henergy gets taunted in from Kaizo, however, and that's going to be a problem because now there's no support. Snooze and Swagga both up, but Swagga's been caught out by Hebo, and with the cooldowns, no chance of escape. Double kill for on her. Phoenix lost for Kingslayers, and TheTomcatt will get the back off. That's the good Phoenix, too. If you've watched any competitive Smite, that's big for Dark Omen, but what's bigger for Kingslayers is Fire Giant now available.
I like Henergy and Snoozism after getting the kill on CritOfTime, posturing up around this, but actually there might be steal potential here.
Snooze is so close, but Kingslayers will get the Fire Giant. Snoozism gave it their best shot. They will sacrifice for it, but it was good to contest there.
Yeah, definitely worth in that moment to try and get it, because if you could deny 4 members of getting Fire Giant, even just for 3 members, let alone like 2 members to get the Fire Giant on your own team, that is definitely something that could be of value. But again, going back to that team fight, we saw Henergy and Snoozism both go in after getting the kill on CritOfTime. Again, looking at the members of Kingslayers just to try and stall them out as much as possible so they can get this split push from TheTomcatt more valuable than just that tier 2 tower, and getting a left side Phoenix off of it, which again, as you had mentioned, is the best Phoenix to get for Dark Omen and for either team, actually. And now we can start to see that with 4 members, well, with all members up on both these teams, 4 members with this Fire Giant here, 28 minutes into this game, we can start to see the first grouping over here for Dark Omen, looking at this tier 1 tower over here on the left side of the map. But meanwhile, on the flip side, maybe just a little bit of farm coming out from Dark Omen, but they want nothing to do with the defense of this tier 2 tower. So they're just going to be giving it up, and actually they're kind of pushing up like they really want to get this right side tier 2 tower. But with 4 members pushing into this Phoenix, you guys have got to recall. You just are not there.
Yeah, you have to make a decision here, son, and they're not doing it so far. Snoozism uses that Sentinel of Zeus to try to gain some survivability, but they've already lost their duo side Phoenix. 1 member did stay behind to get the tier 2 in a solo lane, but now they've lost their mid Phoenix too, so the Kingslayers make out like bandits there, and they don't lose a Phoenix from Dark Omen. In the meantime, still just that duo 1 down. That's hard to deny. Oh no, Jayswervy gonna get picked up from Puro. Was just kind of stuck there. We could potentially be seeing a DC there. We'll find out soon. Pyromancer gets picked up by the Kingslayers, and now the retreat begins as Dark Omen now going to get a Phoenix off of this because the Kingslayers have been slowed back. They're grouped up as 4, and they have Lancelot very pushed up in close to their throne room. CritOfTime goes aggressive, looking for Puro, gets stuck in the portal, gets deleted by Unstable Vortex. EmoticonFather goes aggressive, blinks in the back, crushing wave off the mark, but the cannon found a home. Now MattGuy takes on the 1v3, but gets picked up by Swagga, using that joust. So now just Kaizo sits under that tier 2 tower. So 2 Phoenixes gone for both teams, both in awkward ways. Kaizo with the taunt in on 2, but EmoticonFather not close by quite yet. Tier 2 gets picked up by Dark Omen.
And now, once again, we see Dark Omen on the front foot of this team fight, and they're pushing in to try and take this last bird down, and only EmoticonFather is here to defend currently. Through the Cosmos is up, though.
Look for the Ratatasker slam and where it goes. It looks for TheTomcatt. Mid Phoenix gonna fall. 3 Phoenixes down now for Kingslayers, but they're not done fighting quite yet. Jayswervy back in action, able to pick up Henergy. Now Swagga could be next up. Taunt in from Kaizo's good. Beads a bit late from Swagga, but still able to escape thanks to the Horsey. Kaizo not done chasing out, but keep your eyes on that duo lane. CritOfTime gonna run into TheTomcatt, who's backing, but won't get there in time. Snooze gets taunted in and erased thanks to the crushing wave, and Dark Omen have lost. They've lost 2 Phoenixes. Kingslayers have lost 3 Phoenixes. Dark Omen has had the advantage seemingly at the beginning of fights. Kingslayer Sun clean up at the end of fights. With the duo Phoenix respawning and Primal Fury on the menu, where can one of these 2 teams actually get a leg up? First of all, what are we watching? And how do they get that leg up?
This is incredibly difficult to even comprehend what happened, because we still see that Fire Giant is still on 2 members. It just now fell off. Finally, it felt like those 5 minutes with that buff have been going on for the last 20 minutes between these, between these 2 teams.
Insane.
But especially because those 2 left and mid Phoenixes for Dark Omen fell on the beginning of that Fire Giant.
It was like a light base race.
Yeah, and somehow Dark Omen came up on top of managing to take out 3 Phoenixes, although that left side Phoenix has respawned. But right now, it's just kind of a bit of a standstill between these 2 teams, because neither team wants to posture up and look for a pick on the other, because if it goes south at any moment, they could end up falling. And as we see right here with this taunt coming in.
That's going to be a big pick that I don't think Dark Omen could afford. Puro going to get dropped by the Kingslayers. Fire Giant around the corner. The ZFG is important. Jayswervy is defending a fire wave. And Snoozism is actually pushing out that duo, taking advantage of the fact TP is up, so can get there quick. EFG going to spawn in, and the Kingslayers are the first to start it. And with no Giannis to steal, Dark Omen have a clock ticking. Fire Giant's at half. Dark Omen is close to the pit. Henergy looking to step in, does have that monolith up, could pop it when needed. Kingslayers get the Fire Giant. Jayswervy lands down on Henergy. Now the ultimate comes out from Terra to see what Dark Omen can do in response. Swagga aggressive in the 4. Jayswervy caught out by 3, and Kingslayers have split significantly so, and that leaves room for Dark Omen to retreat.
EFG on all 5 members of Kingslayers is a scary, scary sight, but we see Swagga rotating out as if he kind of wants to try and maybe potentially get a pick on someone right here. I'm not sure. You know, all members are recalling, so they will all be in tow, making the smart decision and go ahead and hit that recall button and get back to base in order to help try and defend against this EFG around all 5 members of Kingslayers. An uphill battle that they're going to have to try and fight out right now.
For sure.
As we see that Kingslayers are starting to push in towards mid right here. They're just going to go ahead and secure that Pyromancer right now and get that bomb in pocket, ready to go ahead and look for these objectives. And with no other objectives besides 1 tier 2 tower and 3 birds on the map and the Titan as the overall objective, Kingslayers are starting to group up and they're walking in mid lane.
Remarkably, the Phoenixes are starting to respond for Kingslayers, have respond for Dark Omen. It's 34 minutes, 18 to 28, bloodbath, certainly. over a 10k gold lead for the Kingslayers, not playing around, but it's been answered by Dark Omen. At this point, 3k pots have become priority, aside from the supports finishing up their builds, which actually, to Kaizo's credit, has been done a while. Dark Omen is set up by the green buff, so maybe looking to find a pick in this mid lane. We'll see if that pays dividends. Snoozism hiding behind a wall, but CritOfTime and Kaizo both spotted it out. Typhoon comes out, and TheTomcatt forced away. The Kingslayers try to reposition, but through space and time was used as a utility that we've talked about so much to reposition Dark Omen as well. So we find ourselves on even footing. Jayswervy up in the sky, gonna land down on Henergy. TheTomcatt not far behind. The rest of Dark Omen initiates on Kingslayers, but could not save their mid-Phoenix. Jayswervy still diving deep, still going aggressive, forced out two-man taunt from Kaizo, and it's a big one at that. And Jayswervy finds a double kill with the comeback of a lifetime this game. Puro was able to get one pick back on to CritOfTime. So Sasano gonna hit the grayscale, not around for Kingslayers, but they're still 4 strong in the throne room with EFG. They've got 2 Phoenixes, but they have a tier 2 to respond to. So they've got to step back if they want more, but they're still in the throne room area. MattGuy looked at Puro, couldn't find it, got back to the group, and the call now from Kingslayers looks to be go for that tier 2.
Yeah, just secure this tier 2 right now, and you do have a little bit of time. You could potentially look for this last bird right now, and then you'll have an incredibly strong upper hand, and it looks like that is the call as MattGuy is stepping into this bird right now.
Jayswervy slams down on Puro, pre-beats for it. Damage really good from Jayswervy. Snoozism tries to get back to help out Giannis, while the rest of Kingslayers goes in the front way. Jayswervy does find it onto Puro. 3 Phoenixes down, 3 to defend for Dark Omen. Kaizo gonna back to use that Defender of Olympus potentially to get back into the fight. Kingslayer is actually gonna call the retreat after getting the 3 Phoenixes, not gonna overplay their hand. Wise move there from the Kingslayers, and Elite Dark Omen with a little bit of time, but with all your Phoenixes down, you know what's coming. How do you prepare for it?
You're going to have a really good grouping for Dark Omen here to try and prepare for this final push in for Kingslayers. Again, all 3 Phoenixes down. It's not impossible to defend this, but you have to be grouped and you have to utilize each of your what each of your gods bring to the table to their fullest potential in order to pull this off. And with Puro fallen right now for another 10 seconds, I do not like this play from Swagga looking at Kaizo over here.
Swagga in a lot of trouble potentially. Is on the horse, but Kaizo close. Oh, gonna work out for Swagga, but I agree. That was a risk that did not need to be taken there from Dark Omen. The Kingslayers will group up on the Oni Fury. So Oni Firewaves gonna be pushing up in all 3 lanes. Dark Omen have no Phoenixes. They have none of Kingslayer's Phoenixes. They have thin hope, but they could fight. They do have 5 alive, and EFG is not up. Jayswervy going aggressive, oddly so, despite EFG about to be up. We'll see if it's just a red herring, however, for Kingslayers.
Jayswervy just trying to get a little bit active and throw back a bit of that aggression that Snoozism threw their way in the early game this game. And an incredible bounce back from Jayswervy. We saw at one point Jayswervy was 0-5 over there.
Incredible comeback.
And now is 8-6 for this Ratatasker. And an incredible glow up here from the early game to the late game. And actually getting aggressive onto Puro.
Through space and time was forced out early thanks to Through the Cosmos, so the steal could be gone for Dark Omen. The Kingslayers on EFG. It's at a quarter. They're going to turn and focus on Swagga, who stepped up too far, but Joust was able to get off. Keep your eyes on the Oni waves. They are pushing up. Dark Omen have to respect that. EFG dropped from Kingslayers. They're going to look for the fight to keep him from backing. Henergy taunted in. Henergy going to be gone to EmoticonFather. Snoozism plays it aggressive in mid lane. TheTomcatt dealing with Jayswervy, who's low, has to dash out. A back from Swagga to defend the minions leads to a double kill from EmoticonFather, and the Kingslayers have worked around the misplay of Dark Omen, and now they're going to step up to the mid lane. They have eyes on Titan, and all Dark Omen can do is prepare. They've got so many waves to deal with. Here they come. CritOfTime leads the way, pulls in Snooze. Swagga comes from behind, looking for anything. Jayswervy going to find Swagga, but Puro did pick up CritOfTime. Through the Cosmos used. Titan at half. Phoenix respawn. Phoenix gone. Quarter health Titan. Snooze still defending. Through space and time. Not enough. Dark Omen take a loss in game 1, and Kingslayers get it. A game so confusing, I almost called a Dark Omen victory, but Kingslayers fought back off the back of Jayswervy making a comeback of the season so far for me. Son, walk me through what we saw. One of the most confusing games of the season, but one of the best ones at that.
It was just such an incredibly close back and forth between these two teams. It's so difficult to say that, one team came out significantly better than the other because it just felt so incredibly close. I feel like the slash lines for Dark Omen don't necessarily tell the full story of what exactly happened to this game between these two teams. Because at one point, Kingslayers had 3 Phoenixes down, and Dark Omen were the ones that were looking like they were going to be the ones to be taking this game #1. And then an incredible comeback for the members of Kingslayers in order to not only defend 3 Phoenixes down,
Yeah.
but then look to get all of their Phoenixes back up and then strip all the Phoenixes on the flip side for Dark Omen and then push into end game #1 with a victory. Incredibly difficult and just such an incredibly back and forth between these two teams. I'm so excited for game #2.
Me too. There was even signs of a potential defense, realistically, from Dark
Yeah.
Omen, which was shockingly pulling through. Snoozism and Puro really had opportunities, and Swagga with a really nice gank, and that last fight was almost able to make it happen. But like Sun said, we still have a game 2 on the horizon. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with game #2 between these two Titan teams. Hello and welcome back to the Smite Draft League. After an exciting game one that had me borderline slurring, it was such a back and forth, action-packed fiesta. I'm back with Suun, and with game two on the horizon, it's hard to really look at what went wrong for both teams because there is stuff to look at for both teams. Because early game, it was Jayswervy having a tough time. In solo and late game, it was Dark Omen having a tough time in Teamfight Suun. So what's the big stuff that they can look to change?
We got to see some of these early game ganks for Dark Omen be a little bit more fruitful. We saw a lot of attempts coming out from Swagga, but not a lot of picks on the flip side for Kingslayers. MattGuy was on the receiving end of a lot of ganks and for the most part was relatively safe in a lot of these ganks and managing to get out. And there we see Kaizo's signature Athena getting banned out away from him. I think they forgot that Kaizo was on Kingslayers going into picks and bans in game number one, and then they remembered why you need to ban that god away from him here in game number two. And we see a Thor ban and Wukong ban as well, so some standard stuff coming out outside of that Athena ban for Kaizo, who again looked phenomenal and had some really great rotations to help MattGuy in a lot of those scary situations.
Really not wanting to take any further chances of that Athena. So with the Athena lock-in, you're committing to handling that support role, and they used it on the Ganesh last time. So if you're Dark Omen, what are the first picks on the horizon? Because what are you expecting from Kingslayers?
It's kind of hard to say. They looked incredibly comfortable on a lot of the picks that they had. We see another band coming out, the Susano, this time against the Kingslayers, but we saw a lot of what felt like comfortable things and a Mercury band. That's the second Mercury band here for this set for Kingslayers, and targeting Swag out a little bit there in the jungle with that Mercury band. But it's difficult to say because something on Dark Omen's team just didn't seem to click perfectly, and that's why it felt like that a lot of these engagements that they felt like they were winning, they didn't come out on the upper hand after the team fight subsided and was over. And so there was just a little bit of something that just wasn't meshing necessarily with the comp. And so it'll be interesting to see what they elect to pick here in the first slot. But one thing that they also banned out in game number one, alongside the Nesha that you had mentioned, was the Ares. And so I'm going to be interested to see if the Ares lock-in will come out for either of these teams. Potentially we'll see an Ares lock-in here for Dark Omen first.
I'd love to see it personally. One of my personal jokes since I've been casting in the SDL is I don't get to ever cast Ares, and I just want to yell chains.
Standing
That's
no
all I want to do.
barrier
I want to
to
yell
our
about
success.
chains. And I've been casting here for 3 seasons, and I haven't gotten to yell about chains, son. It's a frustrating feeling. But that Ganesh will be the priority from Dark Omen, locking it in for Henergy early. Very good on that Ganesh pick. I want to talk about solo a bit, son, because Jayswervy had a quite the arc in that game. From being 0-5 at one point to essentially being the reason that Kingslayers won the last 3 or 4 team fights with the pure initiation and what it did.
Adventure.
With the Lancelot lock-in, who can be a flex pick, are you expecting another assassin solo or something more traditional from Jayswervy?
I wouldn't be surprised if we see another assassin solo. Potentially the Ratatasker again. They had a really rough early game, but the rotations and the team fights late game came out big for the Through the Cosmos on that Ratatasker, and were able to set up a lot and help box out a lot as well. We saw a lot of through space and times being used incredibly defensively just because there's a Ratatasker landing on top of you and you don't want to get knocked up. So if we could definitely see that same thing coming out for Jayswervy here on Kingslayers. I would love to see maybe the early game get cleaned up just a little bit. Not necessarily falling 5 times at the beginning of the game, but We'll just have to see though, and we see an Agni lock in and the Lancelot, as you said this time. I'm assuming CritOfTime on the Lancelot here in game number 2, as opposed to Swagga on the flip side in game number 1. And Agni, an incredibly strong mage pick for the EmoticonFather, and so that'll be interesting to see. And we see a long Yorm hover coming on as well. And if Snoozism had a lot of pressure on the Nike pick over there in the solo lane, if they lock in Yorm, it could be a scary, scary sight to see over there in the solo lane.
Yeah, Yorm is already tough enough to lane into realistically, especially now when you're squishy. That would not be a fun time. It notably takes squishy characters just longer to be true solo laners. That I mean, their whole thing is maybe I can kill you a bit faster in those first few waves because I have more damage in my kit, and Jormungandr doesn't really care too much about most of that. So while we wait for the Yorm hover, we do need to kind of address every role, 'cause every role has a story that game as the Yorm is locked in. So let's look at carry, because on her versus Hachiman, you can't say Tomcat played bad, but you also have to address that MattGuy played incredible.
Yeah, that honestly, I would have loved to have seen the and her ban myself from Dark Omen, but electing to not do that, and Tomcat going to go ahead and take the ROM. Tomcat being a ADC who is very good and consistent about hitting his snipes on the Astral Barrage, and a very good, strong comfort pick for this player. And so, love to see that coming out as well, and especially
No
because
mercy!
Rom has a good job of being able to hold his own. And there's that Ares that I was talking about a little bit over here. And Kaizo, it was banned away from him in game number 1. And with that first pick, Nesha, they knew that they could go ahead and solidify that as their third pick here in the first picks advance phase. And Kaizo going to go ahead and take that Ares. And well, we might be able to see just why teams have been talking about this Ares pick so much.
I love seeing it locked in. Gets me so excited. I feel like that character just brings so much to the table. It's hard to deny that when an area is on the field, you have to, even if you're a character without mobility, not as affected by the chains, I guess you could argue, you still have to respect the damage. You have to respect the pressure. You always have to be present of the ultimate. I don't think there's a better beads burner in the game, realistically, than that Ares ultimate. It's a guaranteed beads burner. And the utility offered on top of damage, just so many options. Now, we still kind of have a jungle question for Dark Omen. For Kingslayers, we might see the jungle. We still could have it up in the air. What kind of jungles are we preferring? Especially because for me, one of the parts that, while played well, I was finding myself least impressed with was that Lancelot in the jungle.
I'm not entirely sure, but I feel like the bans coming out from Kingslayers kind of spells that this is going to be a Lancelot jungle, as we see a lot of assassin bans coming out for Kingslayers. So maybe we are getting that warrior lock in over here for Kingslayers on the solo lane. But as far as Dark Omen's jungle pick right here, it's kind of hard to say. There are so many good assassins that are banned off the table right now. Maybe we could see a Hunbats come out for Swagga. I know that that's a pick that he is incredibly comfortable on, so that's something that he could elect to pick up right there. But as far as other picks, I mean, uh,
This
Robin is
is
still on the
gonna be
table and would be
fun!
incredibly strong, and neither team is electing to look at a Robin, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see that lock in as well. But what we do see locked in is this Jing Wei, a god that not a lot of teams have played so far yet this season.
Yeah, it's funny. I very recently saw a Jingwei played in, I think it was Divine Division, which struck me as odd for this. Yeah, it was Divine Dark Omen, which is ironic considering the set, of course, but it threw me off. And I was actually running tier 2 for that game, and I kept talking about the state of Ornate Arrow does lend a lot of logic to the Jingwei. I wouldn't say it would make Jingwei a top tier pick or anything just because of one item's existence, but there is a world
Face the
where it could
wrath of
work
a
out really
sorceress
well, and I'm excited to
scorned.
see if it lends itself to be true. Morgan Le Fay lock in as well, so two interesting picks to talk about. I covered the Jingwei, so give us your thoughts on the MLF, son.
I always love Morgan Le Fay. She's incredibly strong and has really good sustain. Is very safe. Can give great peel to both you and your other carry backliner as well. Not to mention, if she can get off to a lead, she can be very scary to match up against. And on top of that, she has some really great counter picks and counter matchups that she can utilize with her
That may
kit as
be your
well. And
undoing.
there's a jungle pick that I wasn't necessarily thinking of, the Cleo being locked in over here for Swagga in the jungle, but somebody that Swagga can play very well. So I'm excited to see that pick. But yeah, for this Morgan Le Fay though, I mean, she can bring so much to a team, so much control to it, team fights, and all of that control can really help facilitate being able to have the upper hand in these team fights. But on the other side as well, Kingslayers have a really great job of being able to grab a hold of a team fight, and if they can set the pace in that team fight, they can snowball with this team very effectively.
And with the Robin hover, when you said it, my brain clicked that it could be a really nasty flex pick because we wouldn't know if it was Lancelot or Robin for this phase. But with now a switch to an Ao Kuang hover, so with them switching to an Ao Kuang hover, I feel like that. Do you think that confirms that it would be their jungle pick and a Lancelot solo, or do you think it could be an Ao Kuang solo or potentially a Robin solo? I mean, the Kingslayers really have us on the ropes with this. Oh, of course.
Well,
Of
I think
course.
with the Ratatasker locked in, I feel like Jayswervy's just going to run it back there.
I just got trolled so hard. No other way of putting it.
You definitely did. And again, I was kind of set on that CritOfTime had this Lancelot pick, especially with the assassin bands coming out for Jayswervy. So it makes a little bit more sense. And again, Jayswervy had a difficult time with that matchup over there in the solo lane. And into a Yorm on the Ratatasker is another difficult matchup for this god. And so managed to make it work in game number 1. We'll have to see if we can manage to make it work here in game number 2 in the solo lane. But between these two teams, it's so hard to say who has the upper hand between both of them. It kind of feels like whichever one's going to be setting the pace should be able to continue to set that pace between these two teams, and the other team is going to be struggling a little bit in order to counter that a little bit. But it's very difficult to say who will be the one on the foot setting the pace here this game.
I agree completely. Big fan of Dark Omen's draft, but a big fan of some of the unique picks we see from Kingslayers. Lots to take advantage of, lots of opportunities on the horizon. But let's not wait any longer. Let's get into game number 2. Hello and welcome into game number 2 between Dark Omen and Kingslayers in the Godlike division. My name's AnthonyMalum, and I am joined by Suun, and what is sure to be a heavyweight matchup.
Yeah, we see a big change in both of these drafts between these two teams. We can see CritOfTime now the one rocking this Lancelot, so maybe a little bit of anything you can do, I can do better for Swagga over here, who was piloting it here in game number 1. So be excited to see this Lancelot and just how well CritOfTime will be the one piloting this one. And something you had mentioned on the desk was just the amount of pressure that and clear that this Ares can bring. And you saw Kaizo right there, incredibly quick on the rotation, trying to steal away that purple buff. Does not manage to get it, but was very, very close.
And while he didn't get it, that sets up a lot in this lane. That sets up a lot of opportunities for Kingslayers with that pressure. I mean, look where they've got them. They've got TheTomcatt hiding behind the Bastion, not where you want to be. Jayswervy on this Ratatasker, somebody also to keep your eyes on this game to really see if able to turn that early game around on Ratatasker. We know the late game is there, but the early has to be fixed up. A lot of damage coming out of mid lane. CritOfTime could be in trouble. Runs in the Swagga. Puro gonna get the credit. It almost picked up a double off the back end on EmoticonFather. Swagga trying to make it happen. Lurking in the walls, but not gonna fully commit quite yet to the EmoticonFather. But still lurking. There's the dash forward. Could be caught in the dash of Emoticon. Still committing. Gonna dive for it. Doesn't get it. And that's what happens when you dive your friend under a tower like that. You're gonna hear it from him.
Yeah, again, friend is definitely the term I'd be using as well. You can see Swagga trying to go ahead and take away EmoticonFather. Both of them play Smite together. They used to team together as well, and they play all the time with each other. And so you can see a little bit of that friendly rivalry between them as Swagga's trying to tier 1 dive incredibly early in this game. And now there's a bit of an upper hand over here for Kingslayers here in the mid lane.
Puro in a lot of trouble, and CritOfTime gonna find it, but stepped into the tower on the dash, and now Swagga in the background, able to pick up EmoticonFather 3-2 at 2 minutes.
This time Swagga getting the upper hand when it came to the kill there in the mid lane between those two. And I'm expecting to see maybe a little bit more of this, or maybe now that they're even 1-1 between the mid and jungle of Dark Omen and Kingslayers, maybe they'll call it at that.
Yeah, eventually, surely, right? I mean, look at where Swagga is right now. Basically teasing CritOfTime back there behind the tier 2, or in front of the tier 2, excuse me. Jayswervy forced out in lane could be problematic, as now there's a rotation opened up for the blue buff invade of Kingslayers. Jayswervy tried to get the aggro at first, not able to find it. One last look, but not gonna be able to get it. That's a blue buff steal for Dark Omen.
And Snoozism was able to set the pace incredibly early in game number 1 on this Nike, and I'm expecting something very similar here on the Yorm, who exudes pressure more than he exudes venomous haze across the map. And so we'll be more than likely continuing to see those invades coming out for the Jormungandr. But on the flip side, MattGuy and Kaizo getting the upper hand on this duo side again, and looking for this early purple buff invade, and will succeed in denying Tomcatt another buff, as they were denying a lot in game number 1.
It seems really a huge part of Kingslayer's game plan to keep Tomcatt down and keep MattGuy up, which, I mean, you can never fail that. I mean, I feel like this season has been a season of ADCs kind of going forgotten about, so I like to see the emphasis from both teams. Jayswervy in a bit of trouble from Snoozism, almost got caught, but not quite in danger zone yet. Now Dark Omen dealing with a shield buff. They looked like they were going to step up, but instantly saw, I think they saw the same thing as me, saw level 5 and backed up. Now a blink from Kaizo, spin around to look pretty, brings in Henergy, but not gonna get much out of it, just the beads from Tomcatt, which they'll take considering the gank potential.
Yeah, with a Lancelot over there, you're gonna have to be using that Astral Barrage to banish yourself in order to deal with that. And it actually looks like Jayswervy got a little bit of an upper hand over here in the solo lane. Maybe it's because Snoozism hasn't even recalled once this game yet, and so is behind a little bit.
Henergy gets knocked back, uses that dark pillars to try to help out, but Kaizo gonna find it thanks to the flames. Swagga did not get there in time. Snipes from Tomcatt to try to create an opening for Swagga. They might have found it on Kaizo. Damage is good so far. Need one more hit, but the chains are on. Tomcatt dashes. Kaizo gets great steps through to create distance, and CritOfTime is gonna find Swagga. Now Puro on the rotation is able to find the kill on the Kaizo. So not all is lost for Dark Omen. Is now a dash in from Tomcatt. Double kill for Puro. EmoticonFather on the return rotation. Picks up Tomcatt. Now looks for Puro, who's got a double, but just wants to retreat. Henergy on the cutoff. Silence. That's it. Beads. Double kill for Emoticon, and Henergy forced to walk away. Double for double on the mid laners there on a nice rotation from both that was required considering the chaos in the duo lane.
Yeah, it seems like both the mid laners here in the early game, in game number 1, were electing to just farm up and just ignore the fights as much as possible. Then in the mid game, we saw some really great rotations out of both of them. But in this game, they are looking to fight as much as possible, which is interesting to see as we see a Book of Thoth start coming out for Emoticon this game.
Swagga trying to pick up Jayswervy, but he realized he couldn't walk into the Tear of the Veil, and that turnaround was his death. But thanks to the help of the tower, going to find a return on Swagga. Now Snoozism is forced into World Serpent to get away, so no secondary pickup for the Kingslayers quite yet, but Kaizo was waiting in the wings. That is a caster diff if I've ever seen it right there.
Why is Kaizo there? You know,
I think my man was watching Spectator.
How on earth do you know that that is where Snoozism is going to be retreating in the ultimate after the fact? The World Serpent, you could pick anywhere on the map, you know, relatively within a great distance of the map, and be able to just go ahead and go to that location and reset. And Snoozism going ahead and try and pick the safety of the lane, but Kaizo big braining and be calling that bluff out, saying, no, you shouldn't come here. And Snoozism unfortunately did not realize, and Kaizo goes ahead and gets the kill over there on the solo laner. And so now a little bit of a flop here. Snoozism had a great lead in game number 1, but actually a great lead over here in the team fight as Puro gets a kill in the mid lane.
But now in a lot of trouble as CritOfTime and Kaizo are combining for great damage. Direct Pillars to try to help out Puro, and it did delay things, and CritOfTime almost died. 2 Dharmic Pillars. Now Puro walks back in and is able to find the sneaky kill, but Kaizo steps up and is able to find it. Now Swagga shows up in the nick of time to help out Henergy. Kaizo should get picked up, but is really bringing them on a chase. Now bringing them past Gold Fury, but just buying time. Will get picked up by Swagga.
Was going to be picked up by Swagga regardless, thanks to Nesh's passive, and once again, just buying as much time as possible for the rest of the team to just go ahead and respawn and start farming up while the merry-go-round chase around that wall near the Gold Fury was taking place. But now, with a little bit of some positioning over here from Dark Omen, they are looking to take this gold buff and maybe looking to take a fight afterwards.
Tomcatt gonna run into CritOfTime and MattGuy, forced into the sky. Ultimate comes out, only finds 2 hits on MattGuy, but finds the landing hit after MattGuy came down from airstrike. Both members of Dark Omen are low. CritOfTime goes forward, will find Tomcatt. Could find another, but Swagga got 1 double kill for CritOfTime. Looks for Swagga, but she's in your walls and she's able to get away. So Kaizo will try to chase out Swagga, blink forward, but the chain's off the mark. Now Emoticon and Puro have been having their own war in the mid lane. They run into the chaos, being brought in from Swagga. Swagga's bringing them right to a low. Puro gets knocked up, chased in the tower. Going to be another kill for CritOfTime. Puro could be a target, gets hit by the no escape, forced to use the beads, but won't die on the pole, thankfully.
Another crazy team fight as we saw in game number 1. Once again taking place here in game number 2. These guys love giving us a show in this set here. And a team fight that starts off in the way of Dark Omen over there in the duo side, but comes up big thanks to CritOfTime on this Lancelot and able to rotate into the mid lane and go ahead and clean up some more kills over there as well. And some great rotations as well with Kaizo fell a little bit before that team fight started, but able to rotate directly in from base in order to help out and clean up the rest of those kills. And we start to see, once again, the same story we saw in game number 1 of next to no difference in gold and experience between these two teams. A little bit more in the experience department, but not much.
And that's what's crazy. We saw that at the end, or not the end, but the middle of game 1. It's just how close they're able to stay despite the amount of chaos coming through. And for 10 minutes, 10 to 12, that's kind of insane. And that seems to be the Kingslayers' MO. They like to fight. They're not afraid to fight. They kind of just want to at all times. Kaizo is stepped up kind of far in the mid lane. Swagga here, but Kaizo a bit too tanky to make him pay. Matter of fact, that opens up a no escape, another spin to look pretty, and Henergy gets pulled under the tower. Tear the Veil was a bit off, but it did keep EmoticonFather back, if not look for CritOfTime. Dark Pillars comes out for safety, but Henergy dashed forward and gets caught in rain fire. Trying to use that silence for the protections, but still getting chased out. 4 in mid from Kingslayers. About 2 minutes too early for Beacon, but they still want the blood regardless. Puro forced away, same as Swagga, and now Kingslayers will be set up to continue the pressure out, but maybe they're trying to posture early for gold. Swagga in the walls, looking for MattGuy, gets the poke across without Puro caught out by Kaizo. 3 chains add some flames, and Puro will hit the gray scale. So Kingslayers do get a pick off of what was a kind of awkward fight in mid, a lot being expended with no beacon in sight and no turn for Gold Furies either.
Another wild team fight, and it's continuing on over here in the solo lane, and Jayswervy is getting the upper hand over here in game number 2 in the solo lane matchup, and gonna go ahead and take that solo kill over Snoozism, and now it has a positive KDA here incredibly early here in game number 2, and again looked incredibly rough in game number 1, but looks very strong here in game number 2. This is like a night and day difference of a Ratatasker. Are they using the anime skins where it's, you know, one's the white skin and one's the black skin, just to emphasize just how much of a drastic change it is over here in the solo lane? A crazy and a great look for Jayswervy.
It's impressive, not getting your mindset torn apart after such a rough start to game 1. and coming back game 2 and then carrying the mindset in is almost the most impressive part for me because it's so rare that we see those mindsets be carried over.
Beacon has spawned now, and it looks like the teams are starting to posture around it as if they really want to do something. And CritOfTime is taking a lot of poke from Snoozism, who has an early rotation. Jayswervy still hasn't even backed yet. Now Kaizo's taking a lot of damage as well.
Snipes from Tomcatt, not able to find CritOfTime. But with all of Dark Omen prepared for Kingslayers here, this could be a different fight than we've seen so far. Swagga gonna find Kaizo at the start of things, and the Beacon looks like it's going to go to Dark Omen, barring any heroics. MattGuy does show up, but the Beacon damage is done. That goes the way of Dark Omen, and it looks like they're not done at that, because Snoozism diving deep in the tower, trying to find EmoticonFather out. Jayswervy also gets pushed forward. Dark Omen don't have a great opening, though, and now through the Cosmos is actually being used in response. They want to take advantage of the MattGuy flank, and it's working out so far. Puro down low, Puro gone. 2 CritOfTime. Tomcatt takes some poke as well. Keep your eyes on Swagga, working deep, low in mana. Could look for EmoticonFather, but that mana, too big of a problem to go crazy under the tower again. Now Snooze still poked up, pushed up, poked out, backing up now.
Kind of taking a moment to sit back after that beacon was captured for Dark Omen. And now we're going to kind of look at builds a little bit right now and the level leads between some members. We see a 2-level lead for both the ADC and the solo laner for Kingslayers. And it's and the support as well, and it's relatively even other than that. So Kingslayers, yeah, a little bit ahead in the XP department right now. But another thing I want to point out is this Griffin Wing earrings for MattGuy over here on the Jingwei. Something that he went game number 1 on this and her pick and is going it once again here in game number 2. And with Jingwei and a Griffin Wing as well, she is going to be able to output a ton of quick burst damage with these explosive bolts.
Tomcatt in trouble under their own tower, forced into the sky. MattGuy gonna dive in and find it on 1 auto under the tower. Henergy and Swagga both there. Kaizo is here to try to escort MattGuy out. The escort mission begins. Can he get his ADC out of there? Every support's dream roll. EmoticonFather deals with a 1v2 in the meantime and does not get the better of it. Gets dropped by Puro. Tier 1 tower gets picked up by CritOfTime. That's enough for MattGuy's safety. A chain from Kaizo, but no follow-up for Henergy, so Dark Omen will be able to escape.
Tier 1 tower falls the way for Kingslayers, and unfortunately, their mid laner falls the way of Dark Omen. So coming up a little bit back and forth between there, but obviously a Tier 1 tower and an invade now for Swagga, but that Tier 1 tower does go the way of Kingslayers, giving them a little bit more of a lead, but this lead is only like 400 gold right now, so is it even a lead worth talking about? Once again, if you're 15 minutes into this game, these two teams are so even and so back and forth, and it's so difficult for my job to decipher who's actually setting the pace here in a lot of these engagements, because again, it just seems so back and forth between these two teams. Seems like either one can get the upper hand of the next team fight and for the entire game so far.
That's the hardest thing about this particular game. It felt that way at times in game 1. I remember we both talked about it where we really couldn't decide who was winning because it would feel like one team was winning, then we'd pull up charts and there'd be no difference, and we were almost trying to explain ourselves. 15 minutes, 40 seconds in here, it's 12-16. And the gold lead and the XP leads again don't reflect the chaos that we've seen. It's really asinine to try to decipher. Now Kingslayers do have a decent setup here on Puro. Kaizo's chasing down the MLF and the Aegis beads both used. We'll see how this works out for Puro because there is reinforcements here and the Kingslayers know it. They start to retreat and Kaizo going to not be able to save EmoticonFather as he gets dropped. MattGuy able to pick up Tomcatt in the left lane with the help of CritOfTime, and Kaizo will survive for the time being. Dark Omen will take their victory in mid and look at Pyromancer potentially. Jayswervy looking for Snoozism actually, using through the Cosmos. Acorn Blast a bit off, Puro on the way to try to help out Snooze. Jayswervy will run into the MLF, gets the dash off, but gets caught in the knock-up and gets dropped by the MLF.
Beads expelled as well for that Ratatasker. Unfortunately, not quick on the draw and does still get that knock-up off. And now, with some minions being pushed into this tier 2 tower and into this mid lane, with a little bit of that extra pressure coming out from Kingslayers minions and from the aggression we just saw over there on the right-hand side of the map, I was kind of expecting a Gold Fury to be pulled right now, but deciding not to and instead looking at Puro here in the mid.
Puro's in a lot of trouble here. CritOfTime gonna get aggressive. Kaizo gets the no escape off, but consuming power was available. That's huge for the MLF. That would have been a death. Swagga still there. 1v1 in left lane from the ADCs starts to break out through this, and TomCatt does not get the better of things. Huge damage comes out from MattGuy, and it shows. That's problematic, to say the least, because that Jinghui is starting to hit like a truck.
Yeah, I'm not sure where this lead develops, because it felt like TomCatt's been over there in the left lane farming as much as possible, but there has been a lot of purple buff invades coming out for Kingslayers, and those purple buff invades have been adding up again here in game number 2 onto TomCatt. Beacon goes ahead and gets captured by Kingslayers, and now they're going to be looking towards this Pyromancer, but this one isn't going to be as free as the Beacon, as Snoozism is rotating in.
Henergy gonna look to set up Kaizo. Dark Pillars come out. CritOfTime able to find Puro in the back line. Rampage for the Lancelot. Snoozism trying to make a play happen, but Emoticon is in trouble. Kaizo too. The spit could catch Emoticon, but the dash is good, and Kaizo is stuck. Tear the Veil not gonna find Emoticon. Swagga in trouble. Jayswervy looking for the chase, but has to turn around and will run into 2 people. Gonna be okay for the time being. Henergy steps back, but Henergy runs into CritOfTime, and Jayswervy helps out. Spin to win, won't find it, but MattGuy's there for backup. Swagga able to pick up CritOfTime and get a shutdown kill at that. Airstrike no good, but good now. Double kill for MattGuy. Dashing forward, feeling himself, getting aggressive. Follows Jayswervy into the snipes from TomCatt, and now MattGuy finds himself in an awkward spot. TomCatt there. Swagga there. MattGuy has EmoticonFather for backup, and they're going to get aggressive on Swagga. It's going to be a delayed triple kill for MattGuy. Swagga going to hit the grayscale. Now looking for TomCatt too. Can you make it a delayed quadra? Does not have the advantage, but the damage is too much. Thanks to the Deathbringer and company, unstoppable MattGuy delayed quadra. That Jinghui not to be trifled with.
Jinghui coming up big in this team fight. MattGuy getting a lot of kills to the name and extending the lead. Now level 20 here, 19 minutes into this game, is on a really, really big tear here this game, as opposed to the Tear of the Veil on the flip side. Swagga not able to come up as big in that team fight. Still coming up very big for the team though. 5-4 for the jungler on Dark Omen, and it seems like the mid jungle pressure from Dark Omen just isn't enough for this, and we have a bit of a DC coming out right now, so we'll be right back here after this DC.
Hello and welcome back. Currently 20 minutes in this game between Dark Omen and Kingslayers. We need to give you a new lay of the land because due to our rulebook and the amount of time that the Kingslayers were allotted for their pause, and due to the circumstance of the DC of CritOfTime, the Kingslayers will have an impossible task in front of themselves. They will be in a 4v5 for the rest of this game. They do have a lead, not significant, but they've got one, and they've got a very, very, very strong ADC right now, who thankfully for them was not the one to DC. So not impossible, but very improbable. Swagga is in trouble. MattGuy gonna look for the airstrike to go crazy, but Swagga pulled back from no escape, will die to KaizoCaster. TheTomcatt gonna die to MattGuy, so no problem there. And if there's one thing, son, I think Kingslayers need to do, they're gonna have to force fights whenever they have the opportunity to have an advantage.
Yeah, if they can ever catch one member of Dark Omen off guard and they're not positioning with the team, they can look to get these picks, especially if MattGuy is in tow in these engagements, rotating in. Again, this Jingwei is massive, and they have got to try and funnel a chance at winning this game through MattGuy right now, who again is the level 20. Only other two people level 20 are Swagga on the flip side and Jayswervy in the solo lane for his team. But this won't continue forever. More members are going to start hitting level 20, and then this lead won't be as impactful. Builds will start to be finished by a lot of these teams, and so you have to try and set a pace to continue to extend this lead if you are Kingslayers. Meanwhile, Dark Omen, what it seems like they need to do is just try and group up as best they can and not get picked off like Henergy right now, who's off by themselves, and now there's two members looking at him. Some really great body blocks from Jayswervy.
Henergy already down to half health. Swagga coming from behind, trying to help out. Henergy able actually to survive for the time being. Jayswervy in a lot of trouble, gonna get picked up by Swagga. Through the Cosmos used, will try to escape. MattGuy in a lot of trouble. That shutdown gold could be massive. Double kill for Swagga. So I'm gonna see that last item come online pretty soon. EmoticonFather now in trouble, and Kingslayers doing the opposite of what we just talked about, getting picked off one by one. EmoticonFather gonna get the rundown here from Swagga, could get picked up and will fall to Puro. Now Swagga gonna be the lone one in the deep jungle, just gonna steal away farm. Kaizo gonna do what he can to disrupt it, but it's not gonna be a lot here. Actually, I'm so wrong. Oh my god, that damage was ridiculous. Divine Ruin diff, methinks?
Divine Ruin is definitely the big differ in that engagement right there. Gonna go ahead and hit those 3 chains and then hit him with the Searing Flesh to collect the kill on Swagga, who just does not have enough lifesteal in order to try and combat that much damage, especially with the Divine Ruin coming out. And now we see what we should have been expecting from Dark Omen relatively early on with CritOfTime being DC'd, and now a lot of members had fallen. They could be looking towards these objectives like Fire Giant relatively easily because they have an extra player.
Jayswervy is in the sky, and the landing gonna look for TomCatt. Fire Giant's below half health, and TomCatt's getting erased. Jayswervy will get the credit. Fire Giant at quarter health. Kaizo still in ring, gonna fall to Snoozism. MattGuy shows up in the nick of time, gets a kill on a Henergy, gets a double kill off Snoozism, and despite the odds, Kingslayers have forced Dark Omen off of the Fire Giant, and they're gonna get the Fire Giant and pick up Puro and drop 4. I can't believe it.
MattGuy with a really great flank rotation coming out. Swagga, you do not want to be picking that fight. Gonna go ahead and lay one of those ultimates down and walk away. Smart decision. You do not want to be dealing with that. And now with a full minion wave and the solo laner right here with MattGuy, this might just be a Phoenix coming out for Kingslayers. Once again, down a player currently from a power outage from CritOfTime.
Swagga looking to make a play happen on Jayswervy, tries to get this guy in time, but cannot do it thanks to the slash from Swagga. Jayswervy will take a break here. Snipes from TomCatt were just for funsies. Thought maybe they could get some poke on MattGuy to help out Swagga, but the distance had been too great by that point.
TP coming out from Snoozism is kind of looking at MattGuy, but MattGuy has that agility and will be able to disengage. And actually, Snoozism taking an insane amount of damage thanks to MattGuy and the bombs over the wall from EmoticonFather. But now the teams are kind of at a bit of a standstill right now, a bit of pressure now. Dark Omen are going to have to deal with a fire minion wave here in the mid lane, and it's actually Kingslayers pulling the Oni Fury.
I love it. I respect the calls, but can they survive the onslaught? They do get the Oni Fury, but now the retreat needs to be quick and it needs to be clean. Henergy got really damaged out, so won't be able to follow as far as they may have wanted to. Now Rain Fire is a good zoning tool, but the Kingslayers are stepping up because they've got Jayswervy on the way back. If you're going to die in a blaze of glory. They're going to dive in on Puro, and Puro will be the one that dies because Swagga is pushing out that solo lane with the Titan. So it's a distinct choice here from Dark Omen to push out solo and see what they can get off of it. And with a Titan, they can push far. Swagga going to commit to the split push while Kingslayers do the opposite. They're looking at a tier 2 and they're getting aggressive. It's a blink from Kaizo, hits 2. Ultimate forced from Tomcatt. They're going to pick up Henergy. Tier 2 gets dropped by Dark Omen. Excuse me, Kingslayers get that tier 2. Now Dark Omen looking at the Phoenix. Jayswervy runs into Swagga. The 1v1 commences and Swagga has the better, but the big news is the Titan dies, so Jayswervy's job is complete. The other 3 members of Kingslayers, again, no CritOfTime, still look for this Phoenix, and they're going to be successful and get a Tomcatt for their troubles. So they defend Phoenix. They get tier 2. They get Phoenix. They get a pick. All as a 4-man group.
More along lines of a 3-man group, as we just saw all 3 members of Kingslayers here, besides Jayswervy over here on the left-hand side, coming up huge in that team fight and trusting each other, with Kaizo setting up immensely for both the backliners of EmoticonFather and MattGuy, who came up big with the damage charts. And you can see in the bottom left corner right there just how impactful MattGuy is right now on the Jingwei. 10, 2, and 12 for this Jingwei with a DC on the team as well, fighting a 4v5 and are up 6k gold when the game was, what, like 500 gold lead for Kingslayers when we came back from the break with the DC, and now a Pyromancer extending that even further, and all 4 members now kind of grouping as if they're going to be looking to take this Fire Giant when it respawns, and 2 Fire Minion waves that Dark Omen are going to have to be dealing with against this Kingslayers team. Kingslayers finally having a full roster again, mind you. This is their first set with a full roster, and they are playing a 4v5, and they are in a position to win this 4v5.
Impressive doesn't even describe it for me, but they do have to finish things out. They're going to look for Snoozism to try to make it happen, and my goodness, look at the damage on Snoozism, not even able to react. Through the Cosmos use, Snoozism gets the shell, will be able to get away. Kingslayers will fall back. They should, could, won't get this tier 2. They'll look to reset, push up with the wave, play it a bit safe. They do have to deal with a split push from Tomcatt. Swagga does look to the back line. Get some damage off. Keep your eye on Tomcatt. That is a back from Jayswervy, the patented split push defender for the Kingslayers. But the other 3 members do need to retreat. They cannot take this fight. Jayswervy gonna have a tougher time, but could look for it. The dashes are traded and missed. So now Tomcatt has the better for the cooldown moment. Damage is really good with that build on Tomcatt, so Jayswervy forced to back away. Dark Omen don't have the same falter as last time. They're looking much better in this current push.
Yeah, if I'm Jayswervy, I do not want to be fighting into that ROM right there. It just has so much damage. Full build besides getting that leather cowl upgraded to a hunter cowl or looking to sell it out for an additional item. But we got a blink no escape from Kaizo.
We'll see what comes from it. Puro is in trouble. Swagga's focusing on MattGuy and wisely through the Cosmos used. Land down looking for Puro. Swagga has turned his attention to clean things up. Jayswervy will play defense to get his team out of there, which will be the smart call because MattGuy has got to take a 1v1 with Tomcatt in the duo lane. EmoticonFather and Jayswervy both in trouble. Age is forced from EmoticonFather. Snoozism going to find it regardless. MattGuy will win that 1v1 and handily so. So no more split push threat from Dark Omen onto the Kingslayers. Jayswervy going to try to buy time and run Dark Omen around, and it's working well. Only Snoozism with a Zion Price currently. Jayswervy will now fall to Swagga, but maybe more could have been gotten.
Yeah, maybe so. Snoozism gonna have to use that World Serpent in order to disengage, and we kind of saw that damage under that tier 2 tower for Snoozism, just how much damage MattGuy was able to output in a very short period of time. And so, as Snoozism's finishing out the build right now, I would not be surprised if we see a Spectral being finished right now for Snoozism. And there it is. Definitely need that to deal with the Xingwei, because again, we saw just how much damage MattGuy has, and you need to do as much as you can to try and mitigate that in order to be the front line that we need you to be in order to win these team fights. Now, the Phoenixes have respawned for Dark Omen, and Snoozism is dealing with these last fire minion waves right now over in the left-hand side, and so they are relatively evened out right now, and you can see this lead is now only a 3k lead for Kingslayers, and now EFG has started by Dark Omen.
EmoticonFather closest, Kaizo actually closer, excuse me. Kaizo will have a chance at getting the steal off here. Fire Giant's at a quarter, Dark Omen slows down on fire, but now they're risking the 50-50, and EmoticonFather's here in time, but Dark Omen do get the Fire Giant, and they get a Kaizo too. So risky, but it does pay off for Dark Omen. They took the chance, and they get the better of it, but maybe an unnecessarily risky call there.
Yeah, if Kingslayers got that, you may have lost Kaizo on the tail end, but without that EFG, you would be in a world of hurt, and Swagga right now in a world of hurt, having to just buy time in the wall for his team. But in the process, TomCatt is back at it again, split pushing this time in the mid lane, going to go ahead and take down that mid bird, and now they're going to rotate over and go ahead and take a look at this left one, and it's not living long as well.
This is where the man disadvantage will pay dividends for Dark Omen. Kingslayers need to make a play happen, but they're going to lose EmoticonFather, and this could spell a dangerous state. Jayswervy falls too, going to be a 2v5 for the Kingslayers, looking to defend. It's going to be, excuse me, 1v5 as CritOfTime is DC'd. Going to be an impossible task for MattGuy. Does have a lot of damage for it. Swagga almost picked up. MattGuy has to fall back into Fountain, and that will spell the end. A valiant effort in the 4v5, but it just was not enough. Dark Omen forcing game 3. An exciting game 2 with an unfortunate end. You never like to see a DC, but credit where credit is beyond due. Kingslayers made it a fight. They almost pulled it out. Maybe some more creative craziness, maybe a risk. It's really hard to say what could have been done better because they were already playing at such a disadvantage. Really unfair to put too much on it. But again, valiant effort from the Kingslayers. They will have a sub going into game 3. We'll figure out who it is when we get there. But Sun, take me through game 2.
Game 2 felt like MattGuy across the board. He was rotating
100%.
in, being able to use that rapid reincarnation to recall and then rotate to a team fight very quickly, and able to set the pace in a lot of these engagements. And we saw so much respect had to be made for Dark Omen in order to deal with this Xingwei. We saw, again, that Spectral get locked in for Snoozism, who desperately needed it, because we saw just how quickly MattGuy could erase the tanky solo lane Guardian coming out for Dark Omen. And the pace was just there. We could see an immensely impressive performance for a 4v5 for half of the game coming out here for Kingslayers with this 12-2 and 12 Xingwei. Again, you see that slash line and you don't think that that was a 4v5 for half the game, but it was, and
Yeah, not
looked
in the slightest.
incredibly strong for it. And you can see top of the damage charts, not even close. Swagga being the next closest with 33,000 player damage. Meanwhile, 46,000 for this Xingwei. MattGuy is insanely strong in the long lane, and someone you have to look to put pressure on here in game number 3 if you are Dark Omen.
I agree completely. I don't know how else to put it. I mean, Dark Omen, I almost want to call them lucky in a sense that CritOfTime was gone, because this game was looking Kingslayers, looked more Kingslayers in the 4v5s than it did in the 5v5. So you can only imagine if CritOfTime had been there, could have been a different story. And again, this is no slight to Dark Omen. You are required to play out the game, so it's not like they're supposed to roll over and let the Kingslayers win. But the fact they needed to pull out things like a split push from TomCatt and from Swagga at one point as well, it really does speak volumes to what the Kingslayers were able to do, and I I don't think there's enough time or words to really say how impressive that was, but there is still a game 3 to deal with.
Yeah, and again, Dark Omen, when the DC came through, the game was in a relatively even state between these two teams, but Dark Omen really took some risky plays that actually came out big for Kingslayers. We saw some split push comes out. We saw that early Fire Giant get looked at for Dark Omen and did not go their way because, again, Kingslayers were in tow and were able to rotate in thanks to MattGuy with that, again, with that rapid reincarnation, being able to rotate in and get that, steal away that Fire Giant and kill 4 members. And so it felt like Dark Omen just weren't respecting the Kingslayers team from the game after that DC came out. They just weren't respecting the four members over here for Kingslayers, and they were making some really like crazy risky plays for no reason. We saw 2 Fire Giants actually be contested by Kingslayers, and both of them were kind of 50-50 between who was going to end up getting them. And I feel like Dark Omen doesn't make that play if there are 5 members strong for the team.
We do know who our sub will be. That will be POWAAAAHHHH stepping up to fill in for CritOfTime. So big kudos to POWAAAAAHHH for stepping up on what was surely short notice for the power outage of CritOfTime. The Kingslayers will have a jungle who is able to perform. It's not like POWAAAAHHH is somebody who can't stand at this level. We've seen POWAAAAAHHH do it off role in mid. This is main role. So there is a good potential here for Kingslayers to still be in this set. And Dark Omen, I'm sure you know. I'm sure you want to talk about your friend here getting 2 target bans, so I'll let you run wild.
Kaizo gets gets game number 1. Kaizo gets Ares banned away from him, locks in the signature Athena. Game number 2, no, we're first banning that Athena. You're not playing it, and then they leave the Ares open. Gonna go ahead and take that, and then now in game number 3, we see both of them getting banned away, and Kingslayers elect to lock in a Thor first pick, and now I'm not saying that this is going to Kaizo. However, we have already seen Thor support from Kaizo last week for this Kingslayers roster. So I would not be surprised in the slightest if this is going to Kaizo over there in the support role. Another incredibly strong pick for the support player on Kingslayers. And one more thing I want to touch on as well is I don't think this Arachne is going to get locked in, first of all, but that Mercury gets banned away from Dark Omen all 3 games away from Swagga. Now, it's either, EmoticonFather knows something going on over there in the jungle for Swagga, because again, they are friends and they do talk quite often. But there had to be something going on right there, and I have a feeling that Emoji had something to do with those Mercury bans coming out all 3 games.
Yeah, I respect it. You know, Mercury not a character that's amazing right now. Have seen him a couple times pop up recently, and there's always a world where that's the case with any hyper carry, right? We saw it with Jingwei last game. You and I talked about literally Ornate Arrow and what crit can bring, just still being an option, and it forces Spectral out. Mercury brings the same thing and has that potential at all times. MattGuy will get the on her back, so no Jingwei on her. The focus this time, and game 2 was certainly an incredible game from MattGuy, but game 1 was no slouch.
Yeah, anytime I see MattGuy get this Anher, I'm scared for the other team. I just feel like he plays this Anher way more aggressively than any other Anher in the league, and he performs well every time on it. We see him leaping in a lot there in game number 1, and I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to be seeing that a lot here in game number 3 for the same pick for the ADC on Kingslayers. It just feels like this god with MattGuy is just a little bit of a force to be reckoned with. It's few and far between where we see a negative KDA for this Anher. And again, we see all these really crazy aggressive leap ins and looking to just stand at the tier 1 tower without having any wards in the jungle and not caring if the jungler shows up, like we saw in game number 1. And so it's a scary sight if you are Dark Omen and you see MattGuy once again on this Anher. And we see the Merlin get locked in for Emoji Daddy, EmoticonFather there in the mid lane. And another incredibly strong mage. Gonna go through the whole roster here. It seems like not looking to pick the same mage game after game. And looking to spice things up a little bit, and now a Camazotz lock in for Dark Omen, and I'm not sure if I want to see this Camazotz in solo lane or if I want to see it in jungle. I definitely feel like Camazotz can bring a lot in jungle, especially against a Merlin in the mid lane. But I think I've seen Snoozism play this a few times over there in the solo lane, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see it.
Snoozism likes anything that can kill.
And Camazotz fits that bill.
Yeah, so I definitely a possibility. I really like the Freya lock-in. I want to kind of harken back to that. It's single target damage. It's always a risk. You run a risk of being taken advantage of, certainly, and not being able to hit multiple people except in Valkyrie's discretion, which you arguably always want to use for safety. It's a tough spot to be in, but the way that TomCat's both positioned and played out game 1 and game 2, I think single target could really benefit TomCat. And oddly enough, if you look at the way TomCat approached game 1 and game 2, having a character who can blow somebody up in a 1v1 scenario could arguably be a better decision than picking your more traditional ADC like a Rama who's good at multiple target damage.
But kind of going back to that as well, we've seen in the early game here, though, that MattGuy has had an immense amount of pressure over there in the duo side, and Freya does not strike me as a pressure pick unless you can get off to an early lead. But MattGuy on the Anher, somebody who he's looked incredibly strong on in this set and previous sets. And you haven't had that pressure over there in the duo side for TomCat and for Henergy. It's kind of a little risky to be locking in this Freya, especially because we've seen that MattGuy has gotten off to a lead in both of those games, and a Freya from behind is incredibly difficult to play. But now with this Ullr as well, there is a little bit of ambiguity as to where this Freya would go. I would love to see it in the duo side because I think she belongs in the duo lane. But that's not to say that Ullr can't go over there. However, I do know that TomCat is not a fan of Ullr, so I don't expect this Ullr to be going to TomCat over there in the duo side. So it will more than likely be that Freya.
Your terror.
I love that. I really like what Ullr could bring here. Ullr, a character I feel like is going underrated right now with some pretty significant buffs that haven't been channeled. The character still does require a lot for little return at times, but I could see a world where this could be a great pick, and I quite like it into Merlin in particular.
Yeah, I mean, it has the potential of being able to blow up a Merlin incredibly early on if you go ahead and hit that axe and use that full combo to its fullest potential, especially once you get that Hydra's Lament online and you got a fully stacked Transcendence. It can be a lot of damage coming out. Alongside, I wouldn't be surprised if we see that Crusher, thanks to the buffs that Crusher has received alongside Ullr. Again, Crusher being one of Ullr's favorite items, that extra 5% attack speed and the reduced cost of 100 gold can be very impactful for this Ullr here in the mid lane. And now that we've seen Kingslayers' full roster locked in, we're going to go ahead and see the Cleo get run back here for Swagga here in game number 3. And I think both these teams, in my mind, are pretty well ironed out when it comes to who is playing what. We'll get the Snoozism on the Camazotz. We're seeing Swagga run it back on the Cleo in the jungle. We're seeing TomCat on that Freya. We're seeing the Ullr in the mid lane. And then on the flip side, we are seeing the Kaizo Thor support once again, because I don't see Kaizo playing Shiva Thundava, using that Shiva Thundava in the support role. It's not going to happen.
I am excited, to say the least, for these team comps. I like that, some chaos is being thrown out there in a game 3. Usually game 3s, we see people tighten up and, they get a little pencil pusher in game 3s. But getting a little crazy, especially with the situation for Kingslayers, having the sub in, should lead to what could be a fantastic game number 3. I will be keeping my eyes on probably the biggest things for me will be the Freya Ullr. You've got a beautiful baton pass there of early, mid, handing off into Freya's mid or into late game, which in theory should work wonders for Dark Omen. And for Kingslayers, Thor support has a lot of setup potential and a lot of stuff to go for the Hoonbot. So a lot across the board to look at, but answers lie on the horizon. We'll be right back with game number 3. All right. right, it's time. It's Thor's support. It's Uller mid. Camazotz solo taking on a Shiva. Excitement across the board. And game 3 time between Kingslayers and Dark Omen. My name is AnthonyMalum, and I'm joined by Suun. Let's do it.
Immediately off the bat, we can already see that Lono's mask getting locked in for Kaizo, so he is not going for what, sometimes we see people who play assassin supports, they'll go ahead and they'll still get, a Bumba's dagger, or gonna go ahead and get that eye to look to just try and invade as much as possible when it comes to being that assassin in the support role. But this game, you can see Kaizo will be going a tank build for this Thor support, and getting the lane a little bit late, that's not too surprising. A good impale to go ahead and just push away Tomcatt, but my eyes right now are on this mid lane. We saw how dynamic it could be here in game number 2, and now we can see that Puro's leaping in, looking for the axe, and a little bit off the mark over here on the Kingslayers mid laner EmoticonFather. And now for the first time as well, Jayswervy on a warrior in the solo lane.
And Snoozism picks up the assassin.
Yeah, a little bit of a flip flop.
Yeah, how the turntables, right?
Yeah. But
Tomcatt in a bit of trouble, gets poked out from Kaizo. Double tap, actually, almost found a home. Tomcatt now significantly poked out. It's gonna be a lot, and solo Snoozism getting close. Jayswervy not wanting to dive under the tower, wisely so. But now Snooze and Jay, one ability could spell the end for either one of them, and that's been the case seemingly both games. Just a bloodbath in that solo lane. Swagga not going to respect that 1v1. Early gank in solo. Jayswervy stepping up. No idea. Swagga shows up, but the double dash is enough for safety for Jayswervy.
Yeah, really great disengage there for Jayswervy, recognizing a little bit late that invade was, that gank was coming off, but able to gonna go ahead and reset under the tower. Was still postured fairly far back in lane, but again, something that I was worried about on the desk was the pressure over here in the long lane. We can see again Freya from behind, and Freya being pressured out is something that's difficult to play.
Swagga will get the first blood, but once again, with the help of a tower, will die. We saw that a couple times in game 2, but this time it brings the first blood to the Cleo, so certainly good value distribution there. Dark Omen will take that with a thank you kindly. POWAAAAHHHH not able to respond to that gank from Swagga. Still getting comfortable coming into this game cold. That's not easy to do.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for Kingslayers to position around POWAAAAHHH. Again, going from 2 games of having your jungler that you've been playing with, and then now you have to have a sub here in game number 3 of the best of 3 set, it's going to be really, really difficult to be able to play around them. And maybe this will be a great mesh as we see another kill over here on the duo side, which might spell a second kill on Henergy.
Incredibly deep dive there. Kaizo goes aggressive. They're borderline tier 2. Amazing how deep they could step. Back to solo, where we saw some action before. POWAAAAHHH in a lot of trouble, now going for the escape, and Swagga and Snooze not wanting to let it happen. POWAAAAHHH will be able to get away. Blue buff gonna be secured from Jayswervy. Shiva Tandava to follow. Snoozism could be in trouble here, is saving that bat out of hell, but saving it for what? Almost got picked up there. Now the escape is good for Snooze, not so good for Swag, and a jump forward from POWAAAAHHH, but bat out of hell was saved. And maybe now we know why. We'll see if on the landing Snooze can get away. Enough has healed. We'll be fine. In that ridiculously deep dive heist from MattGuy and Kaizo, they were able to get away. They just casually walked out.
Yeah, not a lot of pressure over there on the duo side yet, which is, again, quite different from what we saw in games 1 and 2 coming out from both the junglers on Kingslayers and Dark Omen. Have loved to show face over there in the duo side, but now here in game number 3, they're switching it up, and we've been seeing a lot of pressure over here in the solo lane instead. And with that solo lane pressure, a really great secure for Jayswervy in order to steal away his own buff from 2 members of Dark Omen, and then Swagga sticking around a little bit too long and falling over here in the solo lane. And now with a little bit of a lead for Jayswervy, it'll be interesting to see if we can keep that pressure up for this Shiva.
Snoozism, it does need to play it a bit careful, but actually jumps forward wanting to play it crazy on Jayswervy. Does have a mana advantage, so could be the reasoning for the jump there. Jayswervy not wanting to get crazy at the moment. Left side, Swagga wants to get crazy. Looking at MattGuy. Tear the Veil, going to be a little bit too short to give MattGuy too much trouble. There is a rotation out from EmoticonFather, but it seems to be more pesky than anything else. Fear No Evil in solo, and we talked about Snoozism playing a bit aggressive, and Snooze did pay for it ultimately thanks to the Fear No Evil and company.
This is my favorite thing about Hun Bats, and those are Hun Bats that use the ultimates relatively quickly after getting them. And speaking of ultimates, Thor's in the sky.
Kaizo will hit the Ghost of Christmas Past, but did force out the ultimate of TheTomcatt, and now TheTomcatt with no mana will be forced into an awkward spot for Freya. So, despite missing, there is a victory out of that for Kaizo, which I'm sure they will take. 5 minutes, currently 4-1 with a 1,200, nearing 1,300 gold lead, but more importantly, a 2,000 experience lead on the side of Kingslayers. And look, Kaizo just wanted one chest hit. It was borderline toxic.
Just gonna go ahead and steal away the free gold over there and just deny them from it, because you can't capture the opposing side's gold chests. You can just only deny them it. And so Kaizo's going to do just that. And with a gold chest already on the table, that tells me that there's already a lead that has been developed over here, which is, again, shocking to me for how incredibly even these two teams have been. But from the pressure that we have seen over here in the duo lane, from the kills to be had over in the solo lane, and not much to speak of here in the mid lane, there has started to develop this lead for Kingslayers, which is exciting to see. Again, the first real lead from either of these teams incredibly early, and Jayswervy's trying to get that last hit, but unfortunately not able to dance on Snoozism and put him in the grave.
Swagga sneaking up behind Jayswervy, could be in trouble. Tear the Veil used. There's the silence, and Jayswervy will fall to Swagga. Duo side, Kaizo is still getting a bit crazy, but we did talk about that Lonos mask, and now going into that prophetic cloak, there is not significant damage, so Kaizo currently being pesky, to say it again, more so than anything else, but it's effective pesky.
Yeah, best thing to do as a support if you're just wanting to get active and just try and mess with people as much as possible, get that prophetic cloak and start stacking it incredibly early, as we see Kaizo over here on the Thor. Just going to be using these double taps to just try and poke out as much as possible, use these walls to do just that, to start racking up these protections on that item. And we can already see the 7 stacks here pretty early in this game. It actually has more prophetic stacks than Henergy has a Gauntlet of Thebes stacks, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, that is odd. I like camping out the Freya, too. You don't want to spend too much time in duo, certainly, but Freya's not somebody you want to let have any kind of enjoyment of their life. You really want a Freya to be constantly on the back foot, constantly worried about a gank, so that there isn't 1v1, there isn't good farming. You want to keep those things in control.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we can see that those are being kept in check right now. 2-level deficit for the Freya right now. And we can see a lot of pressure over here in the solo lane, but now Kaizo's getting looked at over there in the mid, but looks like there would be no kills to be had for either side across the map right now, as there's just going to be a bit of a reset, but Kaizo's still just looking to stack that prophetic and just try and be as annoying as possible.
We talked about wanting to see the Uller really bring the pressure to the Merlin early. We'll talk about that in a second. As Snoozism gets dove, Jayswervy almost overplayed. Wait his hand. Snoozism playing off the tower well. Both solo laners are playing off the tower really well. Underrated skill. Swagga also lurking for MattGuy as the 2v2 in mid breaks out, and Puro's in some trouble. POWAAAAAHHHH gets the Fear No Evil off. Now goes in, but turns around to focus on Henergy. But both will be able to escape. Just not enough damage right now. Swagga will lurk over and run into POWAAAAAHHH and Kaizo. We'll see how much gets used here. Fear No Evil not a threat currently. River's Rebuke is a big threat. Now POWAAAAAHHH in a lot of trouble. Thor to the sky. Gonna try to help out where needed, but lands a bit short, which does not stop Swagga and leads to a death from POWAAAAAHHH. So Dark Omen will certainly take that one. Kingslayers now looking to reset the fight, not die further, as Jayswervy still hanging out under that tower, son.
Not the only one, though, too, as we see this Uller still has not reset since the team fight. Is in the mid lane farming right now against EmoticonFather and has relatively low mana, so could spill a little bit there in the mid lane. And EmoticonFather stepping up like he wants to, but Uller's already relatively safe. We see a successful steal away of that gold buff as well. for the boys in blue on Kingslayers. And now a little bit of a reset coming out from the two teams.
I like that. Take your time. We're coming up on 10 minutes. 2K gold-ish, 4-3. Things have been not crazy, a little bit awkward at times. Everybody's getting pressured out. The soul laners are going for blood. The mid laners are playing, you know, they're playing chess, having a margarita. Things are just relaxed. So I like the reset here. Both games were so chaotic, but MattGuy trying to change that. Valkyrie's discretion. An instant response from Tomcatt, but not a lot of damage. Desert's Fury does insane, but Impale doesn't find a home. That could have spelled the end of Tomcatt.
Definitely could have if ended up getting that Impale on the tail end. And unfortunate for MattGuy not able to connect to that on the mark, but great jukes coming out from Tomcatt and able to survive right there and live to tell the tale, but might not actually be able to. As we see Kaizo gonna go ahead and get that rotation off and collect a kill on the Freya ADC, as EmoticonFather's being looked at here in mid lane, and Swagga's just trying to secure this purple buff.
It's good to secure that purple. We saw that become a significant problem for Dark Omen in game number 2. So I like putting some emphasis there, even if you can't get it for your ADC for experience, take it away from the experience of MattGuy. That was a problem that they had. 1 minute from Beacon, and considering we just had a fight, the solos have been common. We've seen them for a while. I expect this Beacon to be a hot topic.
Yeah, these two teams, around 40 seconds till this beacon spawns, are definitely going to be looking to posture around it. I would not be surprised if we see a double solo lane rotation coming out. I'm expecting EmoticonFather to reset right now, and then going to go ahead and get back. But in the meantime, in between time, Snoozism actually getting Fear No Evil'd in the solo lane with the help of Jayswervy, gets the credit for that one. And Kaizo's looking to just poke out a little bit right before this beacon spawns. Things are looking good for Kingslayers right around the time that this beacon will be coming up.
I agree completely. Now Kaizo's still given trouble, so we'll see if the advantage holds. There is a ward on the beacon, so the Dark Omen can play around it well, but Kingslayers in the pit, plenty of time. No contest, actually trouble. Puro dropped to a quarter. Kingslayers will get the beacon. We'll see if they look for Gold Fury after, as they certainly have the health advantage for it.
Yeah, that kill over there on Snoozism in the solo lane kind of spelled the opposite of what I was expecting when it came to this beacon, this first beacon spawn. There was zero rotation coming out from Dark Omen because, again, they were down their solo laner around the time that was respawning. And speaking of down their solo laner, they might be down the long lane as well.
Tomcatt going to deal with a 3-person dive. Valkyrie's discretion just to kind of get a bird's eye view of your trip to the grayscale. There you go. MattGuy got it in 3. Not bad. I've done worse. Snoozism in trouble in solo in the 1v1 with Jayswervy, but once again, they're able to disconnect. You know, solo lane is always hit or miss. A lot of times you're told to kind of, you know, watch it with a calm eye, but they come close each time. Kaizo slams down, finds 2. Henergy gone. EmoticonFather with credit. Puro not able to do much to help and did 0 damage to Kaizo with that bladed arrow.
Yeah, probably won't be doing too much to EmoticonFather as well, as we see a Breastplate of Valor second item coming out for the mid laner right now. And with the amount of physical pressure, with 2 assassins, and that's a lot of physical damage that'll be coming out towards that mid laner. And so it's something you got to deal with, and something you got to deal with is MattGuy once again leaping in the enemy jungle with no teammates around, feeling themselves on this Anther.
You can't stop an alpha mentality like MattGuy has, son. I don't know what you expect there, honestly. Now Tomcatt in trouble, gets impaled, is gone. MattGuy finds one right side. POWAAAAHHHH helps out to get the kill on the Snoozism. Kaizo now in some trouble, but does have MattGuy at his side. Swagga could look to dive in, but Kaizo's mana is low, so the openings here are a bit rough. Berserker's used. That's enough to spell some separation, and matter of fact, MattGuy still not afraid to throw autos and go crazy. 1v1 in mid lane as well. POWAAAAHHH doesn't respect it, blinks forward. Overhead smash, gets stunned out, but Flicker from EmoticonFather will find the kill on to the Ullr.
And again, a night and day difference from game 1 and game 2, as we can see that Kingslayers have a lead, a 6k lead right now with this Gold Fury going their way as well, and only Henergy's the one in tow to even have an attempt to steal this.
Could be close. Or Rebuke, though, was the choice of Contest, so that will go the way of Kingslayers, creating a 7,000 gold lead experience. Nearly even, 11-3, could even be more than that, as Kaizo slams down, but does not find Swagga before she can get in the walls. POWAAAAHHHH will help out, and they're going to clean up TheTomcatt. Killing spree for the Hoombots, killing spree for the Merlin, 13 kills for the Kingslayers. The threes don't stop, the dominance doesn't stop.
This, again, night and day difference from game 1 and game 2, but to me what this is saying is Kingslayers felt like they deserved game number 2, and they are showing that they deserve the set win right now. With the amount of pressure and the amount of picks and the rotations coming out from them, they are coming up big in everything that they are doing right now and showing that they should not have dropped game 2. Again, we saw with that 4v5, they took out 2 birds in a 4v5, and were still in a position to look for more. Unfortunately, not going their way, but now here in game number 3 they are saying no, we should have gotten that win, and we will continue to get our win. Even if it's not a 2-0, we are going to be looking to take this set 2-1.
We don't harp. We never harp. Matter of fact, I get comments all the time on how nice I am to players who are having rough games. But I would be remiss to not mention the significant lead that this Anher has amassed over the Freya. Freya just hit level 12, just getting that second relic online, while MattGuy is at that point for ADCs where they're able to start feeling out, hey, I can just start doing whatever I want. And level 16, level 20 for ADCs does not feel like a long time.
And again, another thing we're seeing here for MattGuy, I mentioned it in game number 2, we can see this Griffin Wing again. We saw it game number 1 on the Anher, and we're seeing it game number 3 on the Anher. MattGuy must love the amount of damage that is guaranteed with this item, with how quickly those auto attacks can come out, and just the extra attack speed. It just gives a lot of really good stats, and is utilizing them very effectively, boxing out TomCatt right now over there on the left-hand side, leaping in onto TomCatt, looking for the kill.
TomCatt tried to use the minions to get an advantage. The shutdown gold would have been huge, but MattGuy just has too much of a lead to be a difference maker for TomCatt to be, so to speak. POWAAAAHHH able to find Snoozism. So that'll be another kill for the Hoombots, who I don't think we're talking about POWAAAAHHH enough. Playing up to Godlike from Immortal on last-second notice in a Game 3 against such a talented team and playing the way that he is. He does get picked up by Puro. Caster's cursed, the former caster, but my point still stands.
You're talking him up and it gets put to
I know,
the
well,
grease
he's a
screen
former
for it.
caster, so caster's curses are supposed to be even funnier there. I have no regrets. Clearly, caster's curse isn't that real, or Kaizo be having a much worse game, as Kaizo lands down on TomCatt, and TomCatt will potentially find a 7th death, but actually able to use that Phoenix wisely. And Snooze is here. This could be huge shutdown gold on MattGuy for Snooze, or maybe for Swagga, who shows up too, but TomCatt steps too far. MattGuy will just now get dropped. But TomCatt stepping up. I understand the shutdown gold would have brought TomCatt back in this game, but the risk certainly not worth the reward there. We'll see if Jayswervy is able to take on the world and by any kind of escape potential. Nope, not gonna happen. Puro finds one in Suun. Kingslayers, they gotta be careful here. They're nowhere near throwing away a lead. But diving a Phoenix with objectives on the map and a lead like you have, and dying for it, not what you want to do.
Yeah, if you're getting the bird, I can see the value behind that play, but the bird's still full HP, and they didn't even look to take that objective at all, let alone get a lot of picks off of it. And we saw right there Jayswervy and EmoticonFather on the rotation, looking to try and make a play there after the fact, but EmoticonFather making the smart decision and walking away, but Jayswervy, maybe a little bit of that disconnect again, just got added to the team, and so maybe not used to the calls and what everyone wants to do, did not get the memo and walked into 4 members, and does end up trading their life as well on the tail end of that engagement. EmoticonFather still undying here this game, so a good look coming out for the mid laner on Kingslayers, and still has a bit of a lead as well. Gold, the XP lead is even, but the gold lead is in favor of EmoticonFather, and we can start to see a lot of posturing around towards this Oni Fury.
Gonna be a death for the Uller. Got caught completely out and stuck in an on her pillar. Now Kingslayers will look at the Oni Fury. Swagga there to contest. Gonna be a tough one. Kaizo into the sky to try to hold things down. Dives deep on Tomcatt. The Kingslayers do get that Oni Fury. Dark Omen gonna make this a fight. They're gonna make this a chance. MattGuy jumping in, aggressive, but spreading damage. Impale at Henergy. Now Desert's Fury. Fear No Evil a bit too late to help out MattGuy. POWAAAAHHHH has to retreat after the loss of MattGuy. And Kaizo taking on Tomcatt, considering levels, the items, this is an oddly even 1v1, but they will split the difference. POWAAAAHHH still lurking, so is Kaizo. Snooze chasing. So POWAAAAAHHH could run into Tomcatt here, but needs to turn to the right, but doesn't know. But Kaizo is able to pick up Tomcatt. The double tap just does too much damage, even with the build path. Just a bit too low for Tomcatt to keep up. Swagga will find POWAAAAHHH, and now Kaizo dealing with 3. Gets the stun on 3. Bat out of hell forced. This is all buying time. Time for EmoticonFather to join the battle. And he gets there. Gonna look for Snoozism. Could find it. And will find the kill on Snooze as Jayswervy chases Swagga out. So even when Dark Omen finds an advantage, the Kingslayers take it right back and make him pay for it.
Both of these teams playing with fire and staying way longer than they should have, looking for picks that they feel like they deserve, and Kingslayers come up big in that team fight. Kaizo barely managing to get out with the last of his mana in order to use Mjolnir's Atonement to leap away with that Thor one, and able to live with just the smallest bit of HP and the smallest bit of mana in order to keep this Thor undying here in this game. And now we start to see the first big objective coming out here as the Fire Giant is being started by Kingslayers. Yeah, 21 minutes into this game.
It's down to half. Puro is here. Could look to contest. Now has backup. We'll see if it's a 50-50. Gonna be a 50-50. Desert's Fury used for secure, but Dark Omen actually steal the Fire Giant away from Kingslayers. Kaizo in the sky, looks for a stun, off the mark on Puro. Now deep POWAAAAHHH gone. EmoticonFather does find Swagga, but Kaizo has to look for the escape. There is Rebuke forced. MattGuy gonna go aggressive and look for Henergy. Has the damage to drop anyone. Jayswervy gonna get the credit on Henergy. Puro gonna be forced out. Snooze, mid, Tomcatt duo, both needed farm, especially Tomcatt. So not just the fire is huge there, Sun, but the amount of farm that was just given up to Snooze and Tomcatt especially, that could go a long way for Dark Omen.
Yeah, we saw around a 10k gold lead for Kingslayers, and it's no longer 10k. It's only around that 6 to 7k right now. So a decent gold swing back into the pockets of Dark Omen, and they need to continue this. But this is one thing Freya struggles with, and that's split pushing. Just does not do any damage to the objectives effectively. This is gonna go ahead and reset afterwards. And as Snoozism's looking for the invade, it will do just that. Kaizo gonna have to do without that green buff for just a little bit.
I'm hesitant to do this because there is chaos happening. We'll see how this plays out first. Snooze does get pulled in. Snooze gets hit by every wall in the book. Now Kaizo going to go for the chase at the bat out of hell, but going to land and find just Tomcatt. Beads a bit late, but Valkyrie's discretion, plenty of time for safety. Dark Omen get away. I want to go back. I want to pull back the curtain because you said Mjolnir's Atonement and called it Thor 1 in the same sentence. And I just want to tell you that's demon behavior.
You know, sometimes people don't know what Thor 1 is called, so I feel like it's important to
so rare that casters use its name. Most say hammer. And you had the audacity to not just say atonement, but talk about that's how I call it the one. I had to point it out. Fear No Evil used from POWAAAAHHH. Gonna find Tomcatt very low, but POWAAAAAHHH had to retreat and the shell was good. Signs of life from Dark Omen are sprinting up, but they can't falter now. Puro gonna be low. Hey, that's a kill for Tomcatt. That's gonna be massive for the Freya. EmoticonFather picked up Puro, but Beacon goes to Dark Omen. Every victory matters for Dark Omen, and they're really starting to pull things together when it matters most.
Yeah, they're starting to decrease that gold lead now, only down to about a 5k gold lead for Kingslayers, and they're really showing that they can still fight. And now that this Freya is starting to get to late game, it could pose a problem for Kingslayers that they are going to have to deal with. And we do still see that EmoticonFather is still undying this game right now. As Snoozism's dying tower looking for POWAAAAHHHH, will collect the beads and collect the life for the monkey jungle sub POWAAAAHHH coming out. And POWAAAAHHH, I have to say, has also looked incredibly strong coming into Game 3 of this set last minute as a sub in a division higher. Has looked phenomenal this game so far with some great Fear No Evils.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that it's a collective effort of Kingslayers, and maybe with how this late game's starting to shape, there is certainly arguments where perhaps the synergy and especially the way the team compositions were put together, the way they were done with CritOfTime getting those hyper carry type of characters, maybe this game could be going even better for Kingslayers. But again, POWAAAAHHH's help cannot be understated. The Titans will meet in the mid lane. Dark Omen will be waiting for the Kingslayers. Jayswervy gonna dive in the back, but no commitment yet from Dark Omen, biding their time for the right moment.
Biding their time they will do, as Swagga's over there split pushing a tier 2 tower as this fight is happening. And looks like the Titans are both relatively low. Order Titan will live, but now with a little bit of pressure there in the mid lane, it looks like the Kingslayers are just going to go ahead and retreat and just let their Titan fall forfeit and look for this Pyromancer instead.
A nice value switch there. I like it. It was already very low. It was close to being stolen from the Uller, but they do end up getting the Pyromancer, so we'll have Bomb in pocket. 26 minutes, 23 to 11, and Kingslayers are in a good spot, but things are slowly but surely looking a little bit more close, a little bit more possible for Dark Omen. Kingslayer's not down a member, however, this game, so disadvantage be no more. A light fight breaks out, could turn into something further as Henergy is taking significant damage. Is alive for the time being, and actually MattGuy falls first, but EmoticonFather will clean up Henergy. But without MattGuy, that's a big loss for Kingslayers. They've been playing around that on her, and rightfully so. Kaizo lands on Snoozism, gets his stun across. A response from POWAAAAHHH, but Bat Out of Hell used again to perfection for safety from Snoozism. TheTomcatt now gets too aggressive, a little overzealous after making the comeback, and gets dropped. Now Fear No Evil will set up a double kill for POWAAAAHHH. And Dark Omen, even when things look great, they just continuously make these slight missteps that turn into massive falters.
Yeah, another team fight seems to be going the way of Kingslayers off that. A lot of great picks coming out, but for the cost of MattGuy, who again has been putting in a lot of work, as you can see over there on the left-hand side of your screen, with the Anther being number 2 on the player damage. And it seems like Jayswervy has really found their stride here in the solo lane here. Looked incredibly rough. Again, was like 0-5 at the beginning of game number 1, and then turned it around, had a great showing in game number 2, and is having an even better showing here in game number 3 for this Shiva pick. And I'm incredibly excited to see how Jayswervy will continue to do as we continue on in the STL tournament. But as far as this game goes, a little bit of a bait coming out, potentially trying to bait in Snoozism for that Fire Giant. And Kaizo's over here just doing Kaizo things, having a bit of fun with 2 members in the left lane. But Snoozism is rotating behind on MattGuy. They need to be careful.
They do turn around. MattGuy in some trouble. Snoozism still has that. MattGuy's ready. Bat Out of Hell used. Waits on the Aegis, and Swagga gonna find MattGuy. POWAAAAHHH does respond, and they're able to find power from Puro. EmoticonFather will get the kill. Snoozism goes aggressive on EmoticonFather. Almost pays the price. Has to get out of there quickly. POWAAAAHHH still lurking backline as Kaizo plays the front line with Jayswervy, and they play it well. Jay gonna find it on Snooze, but Swagga able to return 2. Double kill for Swagga. Double kill for EmoticonFather. Now Swagga has Bloodforge, but this is a dangerous 1v2, so will not take it. They'll split the difference here. This game it's gone from a blowout to being really even and really possible for Dark Omen to get back in the game, despite the mistakes and despite the capitalization from Kingslayers. Dark Omen able to stay alive.
And one thing that we haven't really mentioned a whole lot, EmoticonFather is currently 10-0 on this Merlin. It feels like it's had an incredibly quiet game for this Merlin, but it has just been slowly racking up kills in each of these team fights as the game has been progressing, and is full build right now and is able to put out a lot of damage. So I'm expecting that we see this Merlin start to climb that player damage rank if it continues in this trend that we have been seeing out of this mid laner here for this Merlin. And now, as the teams have respawned and come out of base, we can see Primal Fury is now being pulled by Kingslayers, and they're only one here to contest is Swagga.
The Tear the Veil was perfect, but just not lucky enough, and Kingslayers will get the Fury. Back-end fight of it, Jayswervy gets aggressive, tries to pull people in, but there was nobody really there for backup, so Kaizo turned away, and Jayswervy used Shiva Tandava, pulled 4 in, and for no gain for Kingslayers, but a Fury, so gold lead will continue up 30-15. As we've now hit that 30-minute mark, EFG now on the table for both sides to take. Pyromancer getting pulled by Dark Omen. Kaizo in the sky looking to contest, lands, finds 3. Can he get it? Dark Omen get it, but on the back end of it, Powa with a nice Fear No Evil leads to a kill, double kill for EmoticonFather. Kingslayers could look to step up, they could look to make a play happen, but Swagga could be an answer for Dark Omen. It's going to split the middle of Kingslayers. 2 to the left, 2 to the right to chase out the 3 of Dark Omen. Kaizo gets the sun across. TheTomcatt falling low. Going to get picked up. EmoticonFather meets the name of the division. Gets the Godlike. Could look for more. That's 3 dead from the hands of the Merlin. Snooze will find MattGuy. And EmoticonFather splits and looks for Swagga as Jayswervy chases down Snooze. Double kill, split quadra for EmoticonFather. It's 14 kills for the Merlin, and dominance now for the Kingslayers, working it back again, getting their lead back, getting the kills back, getting EFG. They've earned the game back.
Absolutely. Kaizo will be tanking enough in order to tank this up, and Merlin does have the shred. This Fire Giant should be going their way alongside a delayed deicide for Kingslayers. Going to go ahead and collect that one as Jayswervy collects the last remaining member of that team fight on Dark Omen. And this Fire Giant will be grabbed. It's really close, actually.
Oh, they got to burn it. They got to use it quick. Got really dangerous there for Kingslayers. But they do get the Fire Giant. It's going to be on 4 members, obviously. Could not delay any longer to get it on MattGuy. Dark Omen would have stolen it at that rate. So Kingslayers will have it on 4 members, not on their ADC, but they do have it on EmoticonFather, which clearly is the person you want it on right now. And you know, we talked a lot about everybody else. Then we talked about EmoticonFather. Now I'm going to talk about the setup for EmoticonFather, which has been so good as POWAAAAAHHH takes a pogo break. But it's been so good. Fear No Evil, Anvil of Dawn, both so good for setup. The Pillar has been so irritating for the Merlin damage because it slows you into abilities that already are irritating to deal with. It's just such a nice ebb and flow from Kingslayers. Now they're actually going to get a pick, seemingly. Actually, Puro able to get away. Powa doesn't want to let it happen, but will be forced to.
And now we can see a little bit of poke coming out as well, but for the most part, Swagga just needs to disengage, and will do just that. Jayswervy looking to be the target right now, should be able to disengage, and Kaizo's in.
Some trouble for Dark Omen. Henergy's very low. EmoticonFather gonna find it. Kaizo gonna land down. TheTomcatt in trouble too. Snoozism trying to get to the rest of their team. Kaizo's gonna go say hello to the fountain. Puro gonna find MattGuy. Now the rest of Kingslayers are all splitting. Gotta find a way out of there. Snooze gonna find Powa, but did take significant damage. Pre-beads from EmoticonFather gonna take the 1v1 with Snooze, and so far getting the better, actually forced the bat out of hell. TheTomcatt gonna get picked up by EmoticonFather thanks to the damage of the elements. Now Puro gonna take the fight with Jayswervy. Step to the side, axe off the mark. Could be trouble for Jayswervy. Anyway, is Puro gonna find that one. So Kingslayers being slowly dismantled, but still have Emoticon, still have Kaizo. Damage really good from Emoticon. Snooze gonna run down the Merlin. Aegis still available. Kaizo seeing priority, turns for help. Snooze in trouble. EmoticonFather will find it and stay alive and get 17 kills. Still no deaths from the Merlin. Absolutely absurd play so far. Kaizo actually gonna consider it, look for it, go back. The caster in Kaizo wins that time, not the player, and Kaizo will not take the fight.
I love seeing third person, excuse me, perspective of Kaizo, because you can really see the controller being really the joystick moving around,
Ooh,
coming out
mean.
for Kaizo. No, it's just a funny visual to see, because usually you see nice smooth movements of the Thor ultimate. Right there, we just saw jerking around as it was moving. It was funny.
I
no
like the
disrespect
idea.
to console. I started off playing Smite as an Xbox player, so full respect to Kaizo with playing a controller.
I like the idea of the split personality I just talked about. There's the caster Kaizo and there's the player Kaizo. And caster Kaizo was saying, leave, set up, work with the team. But player Kaizo was saying, that guy's a quarter health and I have an ultimate and I've got erosion, so I got some damage. Go, go, go!
Yeah,
I love it. Like Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. No. And speaking of the erosion too, a great pickup for Kaizo over here as well. And reducing the shields, and the shields that we can see coming out on the Dark Omen side, we can see the Mending Waters from the Emoja. You've got the Blood Forge from Swagga as well. And so there's just a lot of shielding coming out for this team. And so reducing that by 30% is a lot of value coming towards the team.
Kingslayers are hitting the go button. They're going to group up and they're going to push up. And they're going to really bring the fight to Dark Omen and see what they've got. They're going to step into the mid-Phoenix area. They've got everybody here in Dark Omen. They're taking their time in a response. No opening forced from Kingslayers. So despite a 5-man group and seemingly a 5-man commitment to what could come, they didn't find anything. Dark Omen didn't let it happen. Dark Omen is kind of pushing up far, so they got to play this right if they're going to play this. Looks like Swagga wants a pick on Emoticon, but not going to get it there.
Yeah, she loves lurking in the walls, and we see Kaizo using that Anvil of Dawn in, and unfortunately not able to catch out Swagga a little bit late on that landing. But if they can win this team fight, they could win the game off of it with this mid-bird exposed, and it looks like Kaizo wants it really desperately.
Now, actually, Kaizo are going to be forced to back up. Got very low. You know, I say this with love in my heart, but Kaizo reminds me of the kid in gym class who's always shooting half-point shots.
Yeah, the half court.
Yeah, or excuse me, half court.
Yeah, or the one that's diving, like full on, like
yeah,
diving away from the dodgeball in order to not get hit.
Or the guy in flag football who's still trying to stiff arm, trying to turn his hip, really fancy, just for that extra yard. It's 100% it.
Now I can't unsee it, so.
Yeah, the next time you see an Anvil of Dawn lead the way for Kingslayers, I just want you to imagine that we all know that guy from gym class who's standing at the half court and everyone's waiting for the ball to come back into play. He's like, hang on, I just want to try the shot. And you see the ball fly in and it bounces awkwardly and it hits the quiet kids leaning on the bench and pisses everybody off. That's what I imagine.
This sounds like it's hitting close to home. Or did you experience this? Were you that guy? Or what's going on here?
No, I was the short white guy who was surprisingly decent at basketball, who was complaining alongside the other kids about the half-court guy because I wanted to fit in, and that was the closest I could get to bullying.
Oh, are you saying that he's like the guy that just holds onto the ball the whole time, and then right before the shot clock ends is when he actually just tries to shoot for it, as opposed to just passing it to a teammate ever?
Yeah, that could be there too. I'm really leaning on that half-court shot though. I mean, granted, the half-court shot guy wouldn't pass to me ever because I was so short and so white. He didn't want to take any risks, and I understand that, but it doesn't change the trauma.
Maybe this is something we got to talk about after the cast.
I know.
Fire9 is being pulled.
EFG trauma dumps by AnthonyMalum.
Yeah.
All right, EFG down to half health. Swagga able to contest, and Kingslayers know it. They're going to back off. They're not going to take the risk because they see a Snoozism lurking deep. Now brought down to half. Bat out of health forced early, which is big for Kingslayers. That's been a problematic ultimate. Swagga did get the Aegis out from EmoticonFather, so that's big as well. Kaizo slams down half court, finds the hit this time, and hit the rim. And now Snoozism forced back. POWAAAAHHHH aggresses, but Fear No Evil's no good. Oh no, Power! Puru going for it! It's on the Titan! This is so dangerous. Look how calm he is! This is so insulting! Not able to get the end, but that was the calmest backdoor attempt I've ever seen in my life! Powa will find the kill on the Henergy. Snoozism low as well. Kingslayers have backed EmoticonFather now with 18 kills on Snoozism. That was the weirdest and the calmest backdoor I've ever seen. It's going to stick with me for a long time. TheTomcatt will fall in the back end of the fight as well.
And now with 3 members dead for Dark Omen and only Swagga in tow to be able to do anything about this EFG and 4 members around, Kingslayers get this EFG, they will be in a commanding lead to be able to end the game. Not able to get it, and now they're just going to chase down Swagga and Puro, and they might be able to end the game off this.
Kaizo had Puro in a lot of trouble. Swagga now in deep problems, but able to sneak out the back end of it. And now Puro's actually the one in significant trouble, and Kingslayers are making the right call. They're going to look at the Phoenix. There are fire minions deep. We got to see the call from Dark Omen. The calls to back and defend. No backdoor attempt to follow. Kaizo up in the sky, on the landing, going to hit the Titan, miss out on Puro, but damage being done here, keeping Uller under control. Kingslayers step into the throne room, and they do so cleanly, they do so quickly. Double kill for Swagga won't be enough to stop it. Kingslayers get the set. 3 games was all it took. It took a lot. It took 3 games. Game 2, arguably, Kingslayers lost to a DC, to a power outage. They get the sub, ironically named Powa, who plays up to Godlike, plays in jungle, and plays out of his mind in terms of setup. They play off the back of insane damage from Jayswervy, an incredible stat line from EmoticonFather, and they manage to take the set, and they do it beautifully so.
Yeah, the power went out for CritOfTime, but Powa came on for the rest of Kingslayers in order to go ahead and get this win here in game number 3. Subbing up a division last minute in order to just try and help this team win this set in the final game was a huge thing coming out for this jungler over here on the Hunbat's pick in game number 3. Looked incredibly strong as well, had some great Fear No Evils. Alongside the rest of the team, it felt like the pace and the trend was leaning towards Kingslayers there in game number 3. We did see some back and forth there a little bit there in the mid game, but ultimately does go the way of Kingslayers, making it a 2-1 set. And I'm really glad that you are covering up the ward coverage from Kaizo, because I already know that the wards are 0 coming out for the support player. So we love to see that in order to hide away the shame that is. And there
it is, the expose.
Yep. So all 3 games, Kaizo, I didn't mention it in the other games, but all 3 games, 0 wards placed for the support player, and able to use that gold more effectively towards the build, of course.
Yeah, that's what we'll say. If I'm Dark Omen, my big takeaways are we just need more time together. We just need a bit more practice, a bit more synergy. It's been a long season for Godlike, but for Smite Draft League, we're getting closer and closer to the end, son. Playoffs are around the corner, currently in week 6. 1 more week until makeup week, and then it's playoff time. So make sure you're sticking around, following Smite Draft League on everything, subscribing on everything you can, and sitting in the Discord waiting for the fun and the chaos that is Playoffs Season 3. My name is AnthonyMalum. I've been joined by Suun, and iNooblet was pushing all the buttons today. And we'll see you next time on the Smite Draft League. Congratulations, Kingslayers. See you next time.